Hey guys. So, fear. I created the channel Fear to Freedom. I wrote the book Fear to Freedom because there's so much fear associated with being a Jehovah's Witness that it's also insane. When you're looking at it at the amount of fear that average Jehovah's Witness has, especially towards the outside world, as well as to questioning or doing any research outside of their beliefs, it's paralyzing. I remember I felt it. So uh, I hope that some of you will join. So I want to know your perspective. I want to know what you experienced, and I'm going to share my experience as well. So stay with me. Hey, so if you want to join me on this live video, in the description, I posted a link. You just click on that link and you can join and be here with me, and we can have a discussion. I would love to have somebody joining me, and we'll have a discussion of what was taking place at the time of when we were Jehovah's Witnesses. And to be honest, I was a brave guy. Seriously, when you think about it, I I had my father who was a Catholic, and he was opposing to us being Jehovah's Witnesses, not so much towards going to the meetings for as long as we kept our grades high, but he was really strongly opposing to us for us to go door to door. And of course, as Jehovah's Witnesses, we thought, no, we have to do it no matter what. So we were lying to him. We were hiding our clothes behind the house, or we were hiding our clothes with our friends. And then after school, we would go change quickly, and then we'll go to service for an hour, come back home really quickly before he comes back from work, and we would do a whole bunch of stuff like this. But at the same time, we had that courage at school, when the teacher said, oh, you have to do this and that, and we were like, no, we're not doing that. We're not going to do that. We are Jehovah's Witnesses. We don't do that stuff. And then sometimes classmates were putting pressure on us, and we're like, no, we're not going to celebrate Christmas. We're not going to pitch in money for birthday. Even though everybody else did, we were like, no, even if I'm the only one in school that will say no, I will say no. And even looking at the history of Jehovah's Witnesses, they had the gun to their head during World War II, and they said, well, you got to say Heil Hitler or you're dead. And they chose a bullet. So there is a lot of courage, you got to say, because I remember even as a small kid, my dad was taking me to the Catholic Church, and I didn't bow down. If you ever have been to the Catholic Church, they do a lot of getting down on their knees and praying. I think like 3 or 4 times during their ceremony, and I'm like, there's 2 people standing, a priest and me, and I'm like 6, 7 years old, and my dad is like, get down on your knees, and the priest is like, get down on your knees, right? And I'm like, nope, I'm like the only one standing, and the priest, right? And we're at the front of everybody, like the whole town, and everybody knows me. And I'm like, you guys want to bow down to this statue of Mary, who's, for me, that's it's 2 bags of cement mixed together and painted white and blue. I'm not bowing down to that. I'm not getting down on my knees. I remember that story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I'm like, I'm not bowing down to that. So to be honest, we had that courage. We were taught to have that courage for Jehovah, for the congregation, for the identity that we carried with ourselves. But at the same time, we were afraid of looking anything behind the curtain. And it was to the point where I remember I was in this room and I was about to download Crisis of Conscience, and I was terrified. Just the thought of doing research and disagreeing with the watchtower. Everybody knew the consequences, and oh boy, but not just the consequences of people maybe shunning you, although that was really scary, but the consequences of you dying. when I was a kid, I had nightmares. I had this image in my head that the Armageddon is just around the corner. And if you go outside of the organization, or if you're just simply not good enough, or if you sinned, and sometimes maybe you didn't even know that you sinned, you've done something wrong, that Jehovah will punish you. Jehovah will kill you during the Armageddon. So I remember I had dreams when I was like running, like everything behind me is burning, like Sodom and Gomorrah is being burned, right? And I'm running, and my sister is running right next to me, and she says to me, please, please don't turn around, don't turn around. And I'm thinking, our father, who's a Catholic, right? He's being burned, he's being killed right now, right? Like maybe he needs our help. And my sister's like, no, 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 we have to be faithful to Jehovah. If you turn around, he will kill you like Lot's wife, right? And I remember I just would wake up in the middle of the night, and I'm thinking, wow, it's traumatizing, to be honest. It really is for little kids to be told those stories, and they go deep into your subconscious mind. So it is quite a challenge to overcome this. I have Colin that is joining me. Hey, Colin.
Hey Jack, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for joining me. I'm glad that you joined.
Well, thank
I'm
you.
curious.
Thanks
Curious,
for putting
like,
the link out there and
yeah, I'm
kind
curious about
kind
your story.
of. I'm just looking here. We kind of look like we could pass for brothers here. I think.
For sure. I just got to grow something here, you know.
Yeah. No. Well, I think that we all pretty much share some common experiences, and I don't think that I have any particular story that's the breaking news or anything more or less than anybody
Well,
else. Just
tell me quickly. Well, were you raised as a witness, or
I
you joined?
was, yeah. I was raised
Both
in
both parents in?
yeah. They were both in. We were raised in Minnesota,
Okay,
and just it was pretty much our life. That was everything we knew from the time we were very young. That's everything about our early life was revolved around the Kingdom Hall and the preaching. And
of
at
course.
that time, that was really, really, the real preaching, going out there and
I know
shoveling through
that
snow.
today
And
preaching is like you're just standing next to the
yeah,
cart.
no, I mean, wow. It's standing
That's
by
how you learn
carts, and
preaching.
it just, wow. We
But
really,
Colin,
really had to work.
tell me, did they study with you my book of Bible stories?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
how
We
did you
studied.
feel as a kid watching like the story about
Well,
Armageddon, Sodom and Gomorrah's flood, and all that stuff? When
yeah, those were,
you have to behave, or
yeah, definitely. I think that my earliest memories were we had a little cassette player, this gray kind of boom box like cassette player that my dad had, and so they would leave it in our room at night, and then they remember those like yellow. I think they were yellow. It was that brownish like box that all the cassettes were in,
yeah,
and so they would like put one in there and say, oh, what, it had different chapters, and which one's going to hear tonight? And they would put that in, and we would sit there and listen to it. I think it was even more so because I had a real vivid imagination uh, listening to it, and then imagining in my mind what this was talking about, and some of the stories were quite graphic
hmm,
about what was happening, Sodom and Gomorrah and the flood, and that makes an impression on a young person very early on. So yeah, we definitely studied those. I remember, this was back probably in the mid '80s, late '80s, when we would have the study at home, a little study with your family in the living room, and so we would cover a lot of those things, and yeah, definitely those images and the anxiety about that stays with you for a long time, a long
so
time. So
tell me,
definitely.
how did you wake up? What caused you to question, or what
Okay.
happened?
Yeah, waking up was, I would have to say in my case, it was kind of a, there was a what would I say, like a process where it happened in different stages. I left the organization in 2014, and it was right around the time when I was going through a divorce at that time. And what really ended up doing it was because the the brothers, and there was a missionary brother. Well, I should give you some reference here. I'm in Honduras. That's where I live now.
Okay.
And so I came down here originally. Wasn't the plan at first, but it was like a need greater. Came down
Yep.
here to serve, and then ended up, turned in the rest of my life, basically, in a nutshell. So anyway, there was a couple brothers, missionary brothers, that just pure coincidence happened to be from Minnesota as well. Two different brothers, lifers, Bethel, Gilead missionaries, the real
Oh,
deal,
my
right? The
favorite as well.
hardcore, yeah. And they were just so involved in the whole situation and trying to basically tell me what I had to do, and I had to stay in the situation. They were not supporting at all the fact that I wanted to, just basically, I was like, I'm done with this. This relationship is just not, it's not working, and there's a lot of problems. And their advice was basically like, you're a man, and you got to suck it up, and we have to take a lot. I'm like, that's your advice, that,
Mm.
okay. I'm like, well, I'm the one that has to live with these circumstances. You don't, so it's easy to be on the outside and opine about it. So basically, I was just like, you know what, I'm at that point. I mean, I had already, because of a lot of situations, the especially when I started serving down here, um, I had already seen a lot of inconsistencies with how the organization is run. When you see in other countries, how things are done, and a lot of things that they don't follow. And I was already getting a lot of like I guess you could say cracks in my foundation. There were things that
Mhm.
really bothered me. And when I was down there, I was basically serving as an elder, and that was when I started to get to see. I saw things that I'd never seen before, because now I was in a different level, and I was going to the elders meetings, and I was having
Yeah.
parts at the assemblies, and I was getting to see the the at the conventions, the what was going on behind the scenes and things like that. And I'm just like, this is what they've been doing all this time. Oh my goodness, And
Give me an
so
example that
I
something
just
that an
basically,
average witness. Give me an
yeah.
example of something that average witness will never see that is
Well,
happening behind the curtain.
one of the things was okay. Back. This is early 2000s, early to mid 2000s, when I was still serving and everything. Um, so I was, so I had different assignments at these conventions, and I remember one in particular was it was a national convention. So they rented this stadium in this one city, and all the congregations in the whole country went there. And it was like 1 billion degrees. It was just miserable, and there were people fainting, and just And so I had assignments, and this was back when all the countries in Central America still had a branch in every country. There was a Bethel branch in each country. Now they closed all of them, and it's just in Mexico now. But at that time, there was a branch overseer here in Honduras who was actually in a yearbook in, I think, '98 or somewhere around there, or 2000. It was Werner Sinke. He was a German. Werner Sinke, that's how he talked. Werner Sinke, he had a very heavy accent. So anyway, at this convention, so I had these assignments, and that's the first time I really saw, like, I had to go to this one office. I can't remember the name, what they called it, the administration, or they put little signs up during the conventions for the different departments. So it was like where they were basically like the administration of the convention. And
Mhm.
so I had to go in there, and I was with the branch overseer, and he's just like, "Oh, well, you can just stay here. You don't have to go out there. You just stay here." He said, And so I go in there, and there's this room with air conditioning, and they've got food everywhere, and people eating, and just shooting the breeze and talking, and having a good old time, while all these brothers outside are just like suffering, and dying practically because of the heat and everything, and it was just a chaos, and I was like, wow, I was like, why isn't anybody here? Nobody here is even concerned about the program. They're not watching it. They're not, involved in anything. Everyone's back here having a good time eating. They have air conditioning, and that bothered me so much because I was out there in the trenches with the regular people, in the
Yeah.
small town that we lived in where I was assigned to, and then going there and seeing the people from the branch living the good life,
Yeah, there
and
was a
that just
difference for
bothered me
sure.
so much where I felt like it was like the foreign brothers were like, oh, you don't have to be out there with those natives, it was like, you don't have to be out there with them, you stay here.
Hmm.
And I felt like my sense of injustice was like on fire. I was just like, this is not right. This is not right what we're doing here. These people here, these poor people are just sacrificing themselves, and they're out there just suffering. And here we are, like we have a privilege, right? So that was just one of many things that eventually just ended up. I lived in the town that I was serving in at that time. I lived about a block from the Kingdom Hall,
Hmm.
so I could literally walk out in the middle of the street and look down the street and see if like a light was on. I would know someone was at the hall. And if it was at night, there was probably some meeting going on or something. Well, by 2014, I wasn't serving anymore because of all that was going on with my relationship, my divorce, and all of that. So they kind of like, yeah, we need to like, you need to step down for now until you get this figured out. And so I saw a light was on there, so I figured, well, there must be a meeting or something. And I just walked in there. I walked in there and sat down with them, and I left them a note, a very short note. Didn't explain anything. I just said in the note that I'm done. I'm done with this. Thank you. Bye. And I just turned around and walked out. And that was it. That was
Oh,
the last time. Since then, last time I ever went back. I didn't actually see anything on YouTube until probably 2018. So I was
eh,
out for a few years.
oh, okay.
So I didn't
So,
see no videos. I knew nothing about these channels or any of this until like 3, 4 years later.
but there
And
is
then
a
I had like more access to internet, and I started actually getting into YouTube. And through my work that I had at the time, we were using more, these smartphones. I got my first one, and then came onto YouTube, and then just happened across some of these channels, and I didn't have any anxiety at all, nothing, because I was already out for a while anyway. But it was shocking. It was eye opening
yeah.
to see a lot of the info and hear the other testimonies from people, and go, oh my goodness, this is
But Colin, here's my question. There is a
yeah,
big difference between seeing that somebody behaves maybe not quite justly. There is
yeah,
a privileged
yeah,
class and whatever, and knowing that there is Armageddon, there is paradise, that Jesus is coming, whatever. Those are two different things, right?
yeah.
How did you overcome the indoctrination?
Oh boy. I think the thing is, I was always bothered by there was a lot of stuff that was from a long time before that, even when I was still a witness, even when I would say when I was still very in it, and I was serving, and I was, with my assignments and everything, there were still things that really bothered me. The doctrinal change when the overlapping generation came in, that whole thing was really,
Yeah.
just I couldn't understand that, and then one thing that got me in trouble a little bit was out in service. I never in my life, I never liked to ask people for donations at the door. And of course, everybody had their little zip bag or their little whatever for if the person gave them a donation, you had to put it inside of something, a bag or something. And I
Yeah.
never carried one of those. I never mentioned the donation arrangement. uh, especially where I was living. I just, I was like, I'm not. I hated that feeling of being out there selling something or actually asking people for money. I hate,
Right.
having to
Okay.
do that, like beg someone for money, ask someone for money.
You
And
were
I
not the
figured,
only
well, if the
one.
person, if they really want to do it, they'll just do it. And I remember very vividly one time, and the funny thing is now how, you don't even have to count time anymore. No one's even going to do that anymore. But at that time, this was years ago, I was out in service and I had to work with this Italian missionary brother. And he was very, like, just intense. He was, the company man, and the Italian, personality was just so intense and passionate. And he, like, after we went to a door, we like stopped at a corner, and he laid into me about why I was not mentioning the donation. He's like, you have to, what are you have to mention the donation. We can't just give these away and all this stuff. And we kind of got into it out in service, which was really uncomfortable. That really, really upset me. Um, because I was kind of short, I kind of have a short temper for that kind of stuff as well. When I feel that I'm right about something that I don't think is right, and I told him, I said, we're out here, we're supposed to be talking to people about the Bible, okay? The part about the donation, that little spiel is on the inside of the cover. They can see it there. They can read it for themselves. If somebody really wants to give something when you're going door to door, most of the time you don't even have to say anything. They'll just give you something. And I said, I've never done it before. I don't plan on doing it now, brother. So I'm sorry if you, and things like that very early on affected me. So I was never indoctrinated in a way that it took away my compassion for people
Hmm.
and my care about other people. I was always very, understanding, and I was always very respectful of even other people that were of other religions. If we talked at the door, if they started talking about, they had their own religion and stuff, I would just, okay. And I would, what, we're not here to argue. We're to, and some
Yeah.
people, like,
Yeah.
they would want you to keep going, oh no, you have to keep showing them. It's like, no, they have their religion. They're good. What
Yeah.
are we going to argue for? Someone wants to talk with us. And so by the time I left, Jack, by the time I left in 2014, I really didn't have to do any, like, debriefing, decompressing. I was up to here with so many
Good for
things.
you. It's
Yeah,
very rare.
and
It's very
right.
rare, but it's good for
The
you.
thing that I didn't know, though, was that what opened my eyes wasn't so much. I mean, I realized that, yeah, most witnesses are going to have very similar experiences. Most of us are. A lot of of course, the thing that bothered me the most uh, was lying, was hypocrisy. That's something that I could not tolerate. I could not tolerate that because, if we're going to point fingers at other religions, call other people out, then you have to be on a moral high ground to be able to
Yeah.
do that. And when I started seeing all these, videos about, what was going on behind closed doors, the meetings and all these things, and the doctrinal changes, and like, one of the things that really really threw me through a loop was seeing how Watchtower joined the United Nations. They were a member and things like that, where that was just like, wow. I mean, we defended that, like, to the death, that there was under no circumstances, or like Watchtower joining up with other churches when it came to lawsuits and things like that. Where it was
Yeah.
like, if you were a brother in the congregation and you had a contracting business or something, you could not even set foot on a church grounds or, like, paint their building for them, or, and here they are joining up with them because when their interests were in jeopardy, then it was okay, right? Then it was okay to join another church and go hand in
Yeah.
hand into a lawsuit together. And when I saw those things, it just, it really, really angered me, but I was hurt at the same time, you know, realizing that we've been lied to this whole
So,
time. That's hard
uh,
to deal with.
who did you have inside the organization? Who did you lose?
Okay. Well, for a time, my mom and dad. were still witnesses at the time. And then, but they ended up leaving later on. So we kind of like found each other again. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we pretty much weren't talking for quite a few years. And, you know, my parents are getting up there. They're in their 70s now. And you know, thank goodness we were able to like basically restart our relationship and just totally new relationship completely now that we were
Mm-hmm.
all out of the organization and all of that. So thank goodness for that. But I have two brothers that are still active witnesses. And one of them I know for sure is an elder in the same town where he grew up. He never left there. So he's serving. He's been serving as an elder for quite a few years. And I have another brother that on and off spent a lot of time out in Bethel. They would hire him. He would go out there to do volunteer work because he's a union plumber. So he's
Oh
gone
yeah.
out there to do some work on and off. And but I literally have not talked to them. I don't know anything about them. I know they're alive. That's it. And
Wow.
this has been going on 12 years now.
Oh wow.
12 years that I've not spoken one word to them or seen them or you know, my nephews or any other family members. They have children, you know. So
But
I've
you
lost
were not
out.
disfellowshipped, right? Am I correct? You were not disfellowshipped,
Um,
or the
as far
disfellowship.
as I know, because I practically I disassociated myself. I believe, if I remember correctly,
Oh, so
I
you
think it
wrote
was
a letter.
about, yeah, because I left just a note just saying that I was, you know, I was renouncing it and I left. I
Oh,
believe
okay,
that
okay.
I think
Gotcha.
somebody, if I remember correctly, because back then there was so much stuff going on. I think about 2 weeks after that, they had made an announcement. I wasn't there, but someone told me that they had made the
Yeah.
announcement.
So if you write a letter,
So
for sure they will. Yeah.
right, right. So you know, yeah, with you know, with my brothers, that's um, the same. Now they don't have any contact with my parents anymore since they left. Excuse me, since they left the organization, they cut them off as well. So now they don't have any contact with them. So basically, it's just, you know, my parents have communication with me, and that's it. And my
At
other
least
two
they have
brothers are
you.
just basically MIA. They're missing in action. They're, you know, we don't know anything about them, and it's tough. It's very hard because um, you know, I would like to have had or have still. I always hold that hope that maybe someday my brothers or maybe their kids, maybe they'll wake up, maybe they'll come out because I've lost out pretty much on their whole life. They don't know me. They don't, you know, I've never been able to, you know, like have that influence in their life or be an uncle or, you know, and
Yeah.
there's moments where, you know, you go on with your life, life goes on, but still there are those moments where, you know, sometimes you're alone and you sit down and start reflecting on things and, you know, the pain comes back and it's hard, you know,
Yeah. Did you
but
ever regret your decision?
no, not at all.
Did you
No,
regret
I
the
wouldn't
decision of
change.
writing the letter instead of just fading, instead of just walking away without writing the
Mm,
letter?
well, I think that's a um, because I understand a lot of the reasoning behind that. Of course, I think it's an individual basis.
Right.
I think that there's some people, you know, some people that because of their circumstances, fading is a better option. It's a safer option. I know there's, you know, some legalities behind that, or like not giving a letter to the organization. But in this case, where I was living, I don't think, you know, this little town, rural town down here in Honduras, I don't think they sent that to anybody at that time. By
Hmm.
2014, there was no the branch in Honduras had already been closed. Okay, so all the operations for Central and South America went to Mexico. So I don't think my little handwritten letter, they sent it over to Mexico. I mean, they probably just called the CO and just said, "Hey, you know, this happened. What do we do?" Okay, then he had to get back to him and say, "Okay, he's defellowshipped or whatever." You know, it's not quite as like by the book down here how they do things. So
Yeah, it's interesting. Some people think that the whole organization is the same, and of course,
no,
they apply. I mean, they have the same books everywhere, but it really varies from from one congregation to another, from one country to another, from one culture to another. Even
Absolutely.
even here, I'm in Canada. I saw quite a big difference between where I was in my congregation and the British Columbia. I went to live in British Columbia for a little bit, and
Yeah.
people's mentality was totally different. Very laid back, very, like, oh, everybody's going camping, then let's do our watchtower picnic, and we just cancel the meeting, and like they
Right.
were so laid back, right?
Yeah.
And I loved that personally, right? They had a totally different attitude. Like, well, here it was like we were doing service until 10 o'clock at night. Gas stations. Some brothers were
Oh
starting
yeah.
at five a.m. Like going on Sunday, and I'm like, oh my god, look, these guys are
Right.
service Nazis.
Well, and that's right, and yeah, and that's part of the thing that yeah, I mean, you get used to that, obviously, but at the same time, it's like, well, it's like, why are we allowed to do this here? I mean, if we were doing this here, oh, we're just gonna go camping instead of, in another, just cross over the border over there in Minnesota, you're not getting any
Mhm.
privileges if you're acting like that. So it's like, why are we doing this here and it's okay, but down there you can't do this. It was just like here, it was when I first came, and the brothers just like, hey, they're just like, turn it down a couple notches, because you're not gonna change people's culture here. And I'm like, yeah, but I thought there was no culture. This is Jehovah's organization. We're all the same. We're all, it's like all of a sudden it's like, no, 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 we do things like this here. So you would go to the hall. This
Yeah,
always Jack, this always floored me. This always made me so angry
yeah,
because the Honduran people, and now I'm worse than they are. I'm the same. I'm the same. I'm on the same level now, but because I've been here for so long. But it gets into you. It affects you. But you go to the Kingdom Hall, and all the brothers would show up about 1 or 2 minutes before the meeting was going to start, and they all be standing out in the entryway or out in the parking lot talking and just relaxed, no big deal. The music would be on, and when the music came on, it was kind of like, okay, like time to, that kind of ambient music, time to come in, and they would all show up with their ties just like slung around their neck. They wouldn't come to the hall. They would never, and this went on for years. And I was always so like trying to, and I try to work it like in the talks about our appearance and our all of this and
yeah.
stuff, because that's how when I was growing up. Oh my goodness, you wouldn't even think about showing up at the Kingdom Hall without your tie on. You'd be
Right.
like
Yeah.
disorderly. That would be basically like unclean conduct. You would be, and they
Rebellious
would
right
like
away. That
once
shows
once they kind
rebellion.
of, yeah, they would hear the brother up on the stage, like, okay, brothers, welcome, and please, start finding your seats. Then everyone will be out in the parking lot putting on their tie and tying their tie.
Yeah,
And then as soon as they
I
said
hate
that
that too.
amen, everybody's ripping their tie off, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, yeah. And it's just stuff like that just irritated me, because it was like we could not get away with this somewhere else,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it just,
But the,
you
in
know,
in I think you're right. Some, if you go down south when it's really hot, a lot of guys, they're not wearing ties. They're just wearing short sleeve shirt, right? Then it's acceptable. If you
yeah,
were giving a talk, right, then it would be required for you to have a tie. But if it's hot, then they would not require a jacket, right? If the
right,
Kingdom Hall is air conditioned, then they want you to wear a jacket, right? There's like
right.
different Kingdom Halls, different things, different rules, right?
Yes,
I
it is.
heard that was before my time, but I heard that they used to have a rule that you had to have a white shirt. Like if you wanted to give a
Yes,
talk, you couldn't go
yes,
on the platform without white shirt. And then if you didn't
yes,
have a white shirt, they had some spare ones in the back.
yes, yes.
Uh,
That's
so,
true. Absolutely. Where I grew up, that was a big thing about like colored shirts.
yeah.
They were really, really strict about, you could have like a mustache, right?
Yes.
But they're like, oh, if I remember specifically, like I became a ministerial servant. I was still in Minnesota, and I was kind of going through that phase. I was like 19 years old, oh, grow a mustache out. And I remember a brother telling me that, no, well, he took me aside and was like, it's okay, but it's just a little bit, it's too, little bit too long right here. And he's like, and I'm just like, are you serious? You know,
Oh
like
yeah.
it had to be there's a little just cut off a little bit, you know. But if it was, you know, and this isn't a joke, like I think it was
Oh, I know it's not. I'll tell you a
I want to
story
say it
after.
was I think I saw it on one of JT's videos. I want to say like quite a while ago. Something
Yeah.
about where it was like they actually had at Bethel, you know, like the rules about like okay, well, in certain congregations, you know, if it's a like Hispanic brother, it's okay. You know,
Mhm.
he can have the mustache. That's okay. A black brother, but you know, if you're white, then no, you have to be clean shaven. And I'm just like, oh my word, is this real? You know, like they actually and yeah, because it would. I remember, you know, I was gonna give a talk, and I had cowboy boots, and
Right.
they were like, no, they're like, you're not, you know, you can't wear those on stage. They're nice black, you know, they're
Yeah.
polished,
Yeah.
everything really nice. And it was like, yeah, but if you know, if a brother came up here from Texas, like was visiting or something, he would wear cowboy boots on the stage. Well, yeah, but that's in Texas. And I'm like, why does
Yeah.
that matter? What
Yeah.
you know? I mean, it was just maddening. It was like, what's all these little rules? I mean, that's why it was so frustrating. You know, growing up and all these little, you know, especially when you were reaching out for privileges, they were
Yeah.
just nitpicking every single little thing to try to
Yeah.
see like how you were going to react to it, you know. But it was just maddening because it's like,
I re-
why is this okay here and it's not there? And it, you
yeah.
know, or oh well, yeah, but these people can do that because that's over there, that's their culture. And it's like, okay, well, I guess we're not a worldwide brotherhood then, you know.
Yeah.
So
It's funny
yeah,
because I remember in our congregation there was a guy who wanted to wear cowboy boots, and of course they're like, no, 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 that's not good.
yeah,
You
yeah.
can't have those. You can have them
No,
sitting in the audience, but you can't go on the platform with those, right?
yeah,
And then the circuit
yes.
overseer came, and he had cowboy boots.
Oh, okay. That's the end of it. That's the end of
That's
it.
it. Like,
Yeah.
what do you tell him? And then he
And
had
that's the funny
a
thing. Yeah.
belt,
If
a
the
belt
circuit
with a
overseer,
buckle, like belt with a
yeah.
buckle like that big, right? And during his talk, he actually showed it to everybody, right? During, and everybody's like, "What the hell?" Like, he's
Yes,
only missing a hat and a horse.
exactly. And the standard was okay, when a circuit overseer came, if he did something, then it was okay.
That's right.
That was like who
He,
set the
yeah,
standard. So
he
yeah,
represents the standard.
yeah,
Yeah,
because he's on that other level. You know, he's not subject to any of them, so he can come. And if the circuit
yeah,
overseer is doing it, okay, all of a sudden, okay,
then
well,
you're
it's okay,
okay.
I guess. Yeah, where it might
Yeah.
have been yesterday, it was you're getting pulled off the stage, but now today it's okay.
I
Yeah.
remember
Oh,
I had a friend who served in Bethel, right? And he had huge mustache, like really big one, right? Really full. And they would constantly check if they're not if his mustache does not grow below his lips. So they would measure
oh
his
my
mustache,
word.
okay? So it couldn't go beyond this point, where the top lip touches the bottom, right? Like this is the point of no return.
Right.
You had to cut it here, and
Yeah.
it could not cover your top lip, right? Like if you
Yeah.
covered a little bit of your top lip, there's no good. So they would check it, like, oh, it's time to trim. Mark, you gotta cut it. Like, poor guy.
Yeah.
He loved
I
it. Like he would never shave it off, right? But he
I
said
could
he,
I
he
could
just
I
couldn't
could
stand the fact
totally
that they were measuring his mustache.
oh, I can totally see that. You know, especially like you know, in our areas, you know, like up north, and I imagine this is always in Canada as well. You know, the congregations, like the brothers, are just particularly petty about things. You know,
Mhm.
anything that's a little bit too exotic or anything that stands out a little bit or it's creative or it's no 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 no. You got to curb that right
Yeah.
away, right?
But
Anything
Colin,
and
let me ask you this, because you said
yeah,
that you grew up, you were there when you were leaving. There was it was a small town, right? Am I correct?
yes,
Like everybody
yes,
knew each other. How did you feel? Because you wrote a letter, then wherever you go,
yeah,
you see witnesses. How
hmm,
did you feel like, oh, I don't care? They see you on the street, they see you in a store, they see you in a coffee shop or
yeah,
whatever, right? Would they be
yeah,
afraid of you? They would be hiding behind the tree. Like I've seen that happening actually
yeah.
quite
It
often.
was yeah. That was a really tough situation to deal with. The shunning is a really hard thing to deal with because
Yeah.
you know when you're born into the truth, Okay, the organization, I should say. I'm already gonna get. I say that just because we're all
Thank you.
familiar with the word, but I always get people that,
No, you're better off
yeah,
saying organization because you
yeah,
actually your
organization, yeah.
subconscious
Because
mind
well,
picks
the
up the
problem
word.
is that I say it sometimes just because we're all ex Jehovah's Witnesses. We know the term. We know
We
it's not the
understand what it
truth, but
means.
we all know the
Yeah.
term. But I'll get people in the comment sections that just tear me apart. Oh, you said it's the truth, and okay, whatever. Okay, kill me. But
Yeah.
anyway, you grow up in that, and that's all you know your whole life. Everybody, the people I grew up with, friends, family, everybody was witnesses, and then of course when I came down here as well, all the people I relate, besides at work and stuff like that. But I mean, my whole social structure were witnesses, and uh, and then literally from one day to the next, I would see people and they would just walk away.
Yeah.
They would just walk away. I made the mistake one time of I was on the weekends. I picked up a little side job where I was giving some English courses at this little institution that was in this town, and so somebody, I don't even remember how we got on the topic, but we were talking about some things, and then we got on that topic, and I was talking with another student. The whole class was there. They were just mentioning something about, I think it was something about what I believed or something like that. And so I just told them, well, I used to be a witness and this and that. Well, and this was like one of those face palm moments, so I'm talking about this, like what I used to believe and stuff. And there was this young guy who was one of my students there, that was a witness, and he just like raised his hand and he said, and he was like really, really, I could tell he was like upset. And he said, I'm a witness. And he said, can you stop talking about this, please? Can we continue with the class? And I was just like, oh.
Whoops.
And then later on, like he ended up leaving that particular level of the course. He requested to be changed to another. And the same thing happened with a person that was in there that. I guess we had been, since I got there. One of these students. I've been talking to this young gal, and just normal, right? Everything, and I didn't know her. She didn't know me, but we would talk after the class, and she would ask questions and things like that. Well, somehow at some point, I don't remember if she actually like started witnessing to me or something like that. And of course, the lingo right away, right?
Oh
When
yeah.
someone started, and when she started saying something to me, and I'm just like, oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. I'm like, oh my goodness. I said, don't tell me I said, you're a Jehovah's Witness. And she's like, yeah, yeah. And I was like, oh, she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, well, I said, I might as well tell you because you're going to find out anyway. I said, I used to be a witness. I'm not, I disassociated myself. And she literally, like, as soon as I said that, she turned on her heel and just walked away from me,
Yeah.
like
Oh
mid
yeah.
sentence. Just, and stuff like
Definitely.
that was really hard because, I would see people that I'd known for years, you know, and they would just
Doesn't
be like,
matter anymore.
we can't. They'd be like, oh, hi, yeah, we can't talk to you anymore. I'm sorry. And they say you're not serving Jehovah anymore, and they would just walk
Yeah.
away. And it
Yeah.
took me a while to like get it through my head, like, yeah, okay, I should know this, right? They're not gonna talk to me anymore because I would try to, like, I would see people, hey, how are you doing, and then they would just
They
give me
can't.
the cold shoulder. So that, yeah, that can be tough. That can be tough, and depending on who you are and what your circumstances are, for some people that can be like catastrophic, going through that kind of
Well,
rejection.
I think, well, this is why I personally recommend for people to simply walk away. Don't write any letters. Don't do nothing. Just
Yeah,
walk
yeah.
away, right? Because you never know what future will bring. Like in your case, your parents walked away, but a lot of people have their parents in the organization.
Yes,
The
yes.
parents are aging. They might require your support. They're not gonna call you
Mhm.
because they're too afraid. Okay,
Yeah,
you're not gonna call them because of the barrier. Eventually, they'll die. Maybe there will be things that you have to deal with, funeral, maybe the inheritance, and then you got to deal with your siblings and stuff like that.
that's
People would be
correct.
afraid to even call you to let you know that your parents die. You know what I mean? Like I've heard so many times where people didn't even know that the parents passed away and nobody even informed them, even though the siblings, they had the phone number, they knew where the person lived or whatever. They like just didn't care, right? Just
Yeah, yeah.
heartbreaking.
Right. That's
or
why I said,
simple text message
I
or
don't,
whatever.
yeah, I don't advocate any particular type of leaving. It's
Right.
just I just tell people because people are always going to ask, what do you think I should do, or how did you leave? And I say, well, I can only tell you what my experience was, but that is not an indication of what you should do. Okay,
Yeah.
because my circumstances, I was
Absolutely
living
right.
in a different country. My parents were far away. I didn't, I was practically by
Absolutely.
myself. So and I didn't have any direction. I mean, maybe if I would have seen videos at that time, I would have had a little bit more guidance to make a different decision. But I just did what I thought I needed to do at that moment. But that was me, But like you're saying, it's very important, and anyone that's listening right now to this live stream, you need to analyze your own circumstances
Yes.
and do what you need to do that's going to cause the least chaos and damage. And if it's really like you said, if you have older parents and things like that, you don't want to destroy their concept that they have of you, and you don't know what kind of effect that can have. And so you just have to do, each person has to do what is right for them according to their circumstances. And everybody has their time frame. Some people can't leave, and I understand that as well, like the PMO condition. Some people don't have the resources or the circumstances or somewhere to go, or they can just walk out and be by themselves or live on their own. So you know you have to
I,
do
I,
things according to you. Don't worry about anybody
right.
else. Just do what works for you. So
I was a PMO
but
for almost 4 years, right?
yeah,
So I completely understand that part
yeah,
where you feel stuck. I wanted to walk away, but I still had my wife. I still had my kids. I wanted to make sure that they wake up.
absolutely.
Large family outside. I'm running a business. Some employees are witnesses, right? Like you're surrounded by this. It creates a huge chaos. So I
Right,
wanted to leave on my
right,
terms, and it took a long time before I was able to change things around, right?
correct.
I say we have a very similar past, but everybody has a different future. So
Yes,
whatever we make as a decision, right, will
right,
later on have a huge impact on our future. And for one person, that could be a way to go. For another one, they will pay a price for the rest of their life, right?
right,
Especially people who live in a community when they're surrounded by witnesses, right? And they
absolutely,
it's very difficult for them to.
absolutely. And it's harder. It's
to
harder in smaller towns, like in the place where you grew up.
Mhm.
That's a really tough situation. But Jack, I don't want to take up your whole time here and give someone else a
Yeah.
chance. So
No,
I'm
I
just going to go
really
back to
appreciate
I'm going
your
to go back to
experience.
the just listening, and I'm going to have I have uh, usually on the weekends the same as you, like probably tomorrow. If you ever get a chance to drop by my channel, I don't know what your time is there right now, but um, I'm going to have a live stream tomorrow at
What's your channel?
let's see
Name of
here.
your channel?
It's called the CO visit.
CEO visit. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you
What a
look for it,
name.
you'll see me. Yeah, that's what
CEO
that throws
visit.
people through a loop when they
Do I
when they
want
see that.
another
So,
CEO visit in my life? I don't know.
yeah, that's another story in itself. How I came up with that, but
Cool.
that's a whole nother podcast for that. But yeah, I'll have a live stream tomorrow. It's I want. Well, what time is it where you're at right now?
It's 10:19 p.m.
Okay, so you're 2 hours ahead of me right now. So that's like
Okay.
Eastern time basically here. So
Right.
it's gonna be 7:30 your time
Cool.
tomorrow in the evening. So anytime, if you want to come on my channel or come on there when I have the live stream, I do the same thing. I put the link out there, and then if
Okay.
anyone wants to join, because I just do, same thing where it's kind of like an open discussion. Say, hey, anyone
That's
wants
the
to
best,
join?
man. Yeah, we
Here's the
love it.
topic, and let's just throw in our ideas and see what other people think and what
That's
their
right.
experiences were. And so you're more than welcome to come on over too anytime.
Yeah.
Okay,
If I
but
see
thanks a
it,
lot.
I'll
Thanks
for
for
sure
having
I'll
me.
join it. I appreciate
Okay,
it, man. That's
all
awesome.
right, thank you.
All right, we had a CEO visit. Yeah, so if somebody wants to join, I posted the link. Please, it's in the description. Just click on it, and you can join me, and we'll discuss more of the topic. I'm very curious how people were able to overcome that fear. Uh, Before somebody joins, I just wanted to share a couple of things that uh, helped us, I think helped us as Jehovah's Witnesses. And the one was talking to strangers, right? Uh, so talking to strangers with practice as a Jehovah's Witness, it actually helped us. So a lot of people who, let's say, they want to start a new business, they're coming out of school, or they sick and tired of working with somebody else, and they're like, okay, I want to start a business. Well, part of running a business, one of the top things that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to talk to strangers. You're going to have to create a network. And being a Jehovah's Witness really helps overcome that fear that, oh, you know what, we can talk to strangers, and nobody's going to kill us, right? If you can sell religion from door to door, you can sell almost anything from door to door. But it's not it's actually what I noticed, uh, that that part of talking to strangers was good because he helped us to overcome that fear. However, going door to door, in many aspects, it really hindered us because subconsciously it programmed us for failure. Hear me out on this one. You're starting at the very beginning. Your subconscious mind, as most of you know, is programmed by two things. Okay. One is through repetition, the other one by something called emotional events, right? Highly emotional events program your subconscious mind more than anything else. So if something is very unique and very emotional, then usually that creates a very strong emotion, and we're going to remember that for the rest of our life. That's why we remember if we had a car accident, we remember exactly what we were doing on 9/11 when the airplanes hit the tower. We maybe remember our first kiss, right? Or when we proposed to somebody, or when we said yes during a wedding. We remember those specific days. But if I were to ask you what happened maybe 2 days before 9/11, you wouldn't remember what you were doing back then. Because highly emotional events, very significant events, get stored in our subconscious mind because of the emotions. The more emotions that you put into something, the more you're going to remember it. And then the repetition. If you repeat something over and over and over and over again, you're going to remember, and your subconscious mind gets programmed. Now, watch this. You're going door to door. Obviously, it is very highly emotional because it is not comfortable to go door to door to strangers trying to talk about religion. That is not a natural thing for people to do. Even if somebody is a really strong believer, they usually don't enjoy doing that on their own, going and preaching to people door to door. So you're going there, and now you're preparing. So you're preparing your presentation, and you're repeating it over and over and over again. And then it gets stuck in your head, and you go, and then you hear, no, I'm not interested. Oh, no, I'm not interested. No, I'm not interested. Right? With enough anxiety, after a specific amount of time, after door 100 or 1,000, you're hoping nobody's home. I heard it time and time again. So many people are like just hoping that nobody was home so they can just check off the mark and keep on going. After a while, if somebody is home, then you're hoping you're going to be rejected. So I can check off, yeah, not interested, and keep on going. You were rewarded for doing territory. You were rewarded for doing time. You were never rewarded for bringing any kind of results. Nobody would, if anybody had like 6 7 Bible studies and baptized people right, left, and center, although it was rare, but some people were actually like that. They were successful. They couldn't take any credit for it. So all the credit was towards Jehovah, all the credit was for the organization, but never for you personally. So people didn't have a really strong self-esteem. Okay. And going door to door, all of a sudden your subconscious mind starts being programmed that you will not make a difference. You believe in the message, but you don't believe that you're going to be effective because $1,000 later you didn't convert anybody. See how that it becomes almost a habit when you go door to door and you're hoping that people will say no to you. You're starting to be comfortable with rejection, and you're going to feel uncomfortable with acceptance, because it just happens so often. When people said yes to you, maybe you were concerned. Like, oh, yeah, I didn't read the watchtower that I'm offering. I don't know what's inside. If you're gonna ask me the questions, I'm gonna maybe rely on the guy standing next to me. And if he doesn't know, we're in both trouble, right? And maybe you didn't know how to carry on the conversation beyond that point of, oh, here's a magazine, read it, there's something interesting, if you have any questions, we'll be back, and then you can ask us, blah blah blah, and you keep on going. And then people were like, coming in, and you're like, what? It never happened before. So we're uncomfortable with acceptance, and sorry, um, yeah, uncomfortable with acceptance and comfortable with rejection. And then you start carrying that into your business. You start running a business, you're thinking, yeah, I got no problem talking to people, I got no problem with networking, I can talk to people anytime I want, right? I don't feel that big of a deal. I've done it so many times as a witness. But in your subconscious mind, the way you're going to talk, the way you're going to show your facial expressions, the way you're going to show up, you're going to automatically presuppose that they will reject you, that you will not make a sale, that you will not be accepted, that these people will reject you. And then you can just, oh, I tried here, and off I go. You see, it plays a really big role in our life, how we were programmed. And sometimes we're leaving the indoctrination of, oh, I don't believe in 607, I don't believe in 1914, but you don't realize how many of the things that you have done, the habits that you had, how they programmed your mind. Now you're carrying those habits and subconscious programming into your business, into your life at home, with your spouse, with your kids, right? Because it was programmed like that, and you, through habits, through very often repeating the same thing over and over again, you're making the mistakes, and it's very, very common. Next one, public speaking. I think public speaking, for me, there was the biggest fear ever. I mean, boy, if I had a recording of my first talk, you guys would laugh your heads off. I didn't think I'm gonna make it. On the way to the Kingdom Hall, I was shaking so much. I was so scared. I couldn't speak. My mouth was so dry. I couldn't say a word. I'm like, I don't think I can do this. So I just went up there and like, and I started reading, and I started looking at the paper in front of me, and my hands are shaking, and I started crying, and the letters started jumping because I discovered I got dyslexia. And then I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Everybody thought I'm gonna faint. Nobody believed I'm gonna make it to the end, right? 5 minutes talk, and I'm like, kill me now. I can't do this. It was terrifying, and to be honest, I can't even explain why. Was I the only one that had that level of fear? I know some people freezed up too up there, but I think compared to everybody else, I really had it high up there when it comes to fear. And I didn't understand why, because when I was at school, I could stand in front of classmates, I could stand in front of other people, and I was a little nervous, but nowhere near as nervous as in the Kingdom Hall. And then but I remember my sister looking at me, and she's like, "Oh my gosh," she felt embarrassed, like, "Oh, I didn't think you're gonna make it." And I'm like, I never want to do this again. It's like, don't worry, don't worry. The first one is always like that. Then later on, the nervousness goes away. Well, now it didn't in my case, because then I went to a bigger Kingdom Hall, because they dissolved our congregation. And congregation was like, I don't know, 15, 16 people in a small village. And then they said, okay, well, it's too small. Nobody can run this. We're going to join you with the city. So we went to the city. There was about 60 people there. And in the city, they had a microphone. So they taught me, how to adjust the microphone. They like, unscrew it over here, adjust the height, and then screw it back in. Right? And you'll be fine. You'll be fine. And I was so nervous. I was like, this just like my heart is pounding. I'm not listening to anything during the meeting. My hands are full of sweat. Right? I'm sweating like a pig, red as a fire hydrant. I mean, it was really bad. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. They're like, don't worry. It's better if there's more people, because you don't see people so close up. You don't see their eyes. And don't worry, nobody's going to laugh at you. It's going to be fine. Right? So I'm like, okay, nobody's going to laugh at me. Nobody's going to laugh at me. I'm going to survive this. It's going to be fine. So I go up there. I adjust the microphone, and then I let go. I didn't screw it in hard enough because I was very young. So I didn't have the strength. And the whole microphone just fell. And I'm like, oh, now everybody's laughing at me. Okay. I'm like, oh, man, this is really bad. Believe me, after that, even if the guy who was assigning the talks, he looked at me with a corner of his eye across the Kingdom Hall. That was enough for me to be traumatized. And I thought everybody had the same thing. I thought everybody felt that way. And they told me, oh, with time, it will go away. Decades have passed, and I still felt the same. It was impossible for me to go up there. And they all knew, oh, Jack's going up there. It's gonna be a tough talk. I was just sitting there and reading, and I'm like, I don't want to look at anybody, and just word for word reading, and oh, I got to work on gestures. And Jehovah told us that we should do this. I mean, like seriously, it was really bad. And then I don't know, it was just weird. And I went for some training, I went for some coaching, and I was in crowds of people who were like hundreds of people in a room, thousands of people in the room at some point. And they're passing microphones, they're asking questions in the audience, and the audience people answer the questions from their heart without any preparation, without knowing what the topic's going to be. They're discussing with the speaker, they're sharing their most intimate parts of their life, okay, including sex life, right? And I'm like, they're not nervous. I'm like, what the hell? And sometimes the speaker would invite the person to the platform, and they have a like intervention there, and I'm like, whoa, that's incredible. Because I remember even Circuit of this year, who came from Malawi, and they invited him to the platform to give the interview, 2 minute interview, 2 3 minute interview, him and his wife. And they were scared out of their minds. They were so nervous, and they felt so relieved after. I'm like, you guys were there for 3 minutes, and you had everything written on a piece of paper, word for word, what to say. What did you accept is gonna? What did you think is gonna happen? And I couldn't understand, why is there such a fear? Fear to the point where my wife couldn't answer at the meetings. She was too afraid to raise her hand and say a comment. A lot of people were like that. And I compared it with outside world, and I'm like, it's odd. I still cannot explain why to such a level the fear was there. And looking at the fear of leaving, I understood that fear, because when you start questioning, the consequences are enormous, enormous for people who have a lot to lose, people who could lose their family. Like in my case, I didn't know if I'm going to be able to keep my wife and kids. I had no idea. And at the beginning, believe me, it didn't look good. I thought, I studied the thing. I studied that whole knowing the truth about the truth in secrecy, because I didn't want to cause any problems in my family in case I was wrong. But once I was convinced, I'm like, I got to talk to my wife. And I started talking to her. It didn't go well. I learned something called the backfire effect, when somebody digs in their heel and they're going to prove you wrong. And all of a sudden, I was very religious. My wife was not that involved in the congregation. And then it switched. I'm like, I want to calm down. I don't want to do a whole bunch of things that I was doing as a witness. And then my wife is like, no, we got it. The reason why you're losing your faith is because we didn't do enough studying. We didn't read enough Bible. We didn't have enough family study. We didn't prepare for the watchtowers. We didn't do enough reading. And now we got to do it. So now she wants to study. She wants to prepare. She wants to read the Bible. She wants to prepare the kids for all the comments. She wants to go to more service. And I'm like, oh man, this is going the opposite direction. But I knew that you can't control somebody. See, this is advice that I will give anybody, that if somebody is not ready to wake up, you can do more damage by trying to wake them up. It's true. If somebody is not ready to receive that information, you will do more damage by trying to wake them up, especially if they're not your household members. Because within your household, you have time. You have time to talk to them. You have time to discuss things. But if the person is not living with you and you only have a very short time, very short access to them, then you can do quite a bit of damage. And if you don't show them a better path, if you don't show them that, oh yeah, they can restructure their life in a better way, many people got really hurt by leaving the organization, and they were unable to rebuild their quality of life to the level that they had in the congregation. So believe me, if the person is ready, then they're ready. If they're not ready, then be very careful, because you can cause more damage than good. But when it comes to your family members, I believe that only to your household, you should really put a strong effort to wake them up. And then everybody else, it's if they come to you. But to your family members, of course, because you don't want to be on the two different pages when one person is pulling you one direction and the other one pulls you the other direction, because family should be in union. I grew up in a family where father was Catholic, mother was a Jehovah's Witness, and it really is tough, especially for kids. It's not that easy, but it is possible. But the relationship is so much harder if you have both people on the same page. The relationship is so much better. We have another person that will join us on stage. Yoni,
Hello, Jack.
how you doing?
I'm calling from Sweden, so the time here is 4:30.
We
Four.
really have a hard time hearing you, and we can't even see you. Is there
Okay,
a muffled
you feel
microphone? Oh,
better?
I see you now.
Yeah,
Don't
I
show
will
me your
go
boobs.
because it's 4:37 in Sweden.
Do you have a hand on the microphone or something? Because it's
Uh,
hard. It sounds
no,
muffled.
I don't. I have the
Oh, we lost you there. No voice.
You hear me better now?
We can hear you. It is a little muffled, but we can hear.
Okay,
We can hear
okay.
what you're saying.
Uh, I have been out from the organization now from almost I think it's
I'm
like
really
eight
sorry. Do
years.
you have an earpiece?
Yeah, I have an earpiece.
Then maybe remove it completely. Maybe just go with the phone.
Okay.
Just
I,
turn off the Bluetooth.
yeah. Wait.
Because if yeah, I had a really hard time understanding what you were saying. Now I cannot hear you at all. Just turn off the Bluetooth and just go with your phone. Believe me, it will be much better. And device not connected. All right. I hope Yanni will come back. Hope he will come back. Okay. Hi ICU. Hello Jack. Thank you for being here. This religion destroys so many families. Yes, it does,
Hear me?
unfortunately. Yeah, now we're good. Now we're good. Perfect.
Okay. I'm calling from Sweden, so the time here is 4:39 a.m.
Wow.
So I'm lying in my bed because I can't sleep. But I was listening at you, and uh, it's just lately, last 6 months, I have been uh, seeing that there is ex-witnesses in the YouTube.
Right.
And I have been out from the organization for like a little more than 8 years. And I was 4 years old when my parents joined the witnesses.
Okay.
And oh yeah, I have three brothers, and two of them are witnesses. One is not, and my parents now are more than 70 years old, and they are witnesses. But the thing is that there is so much things in the organization the last years that I'm I'm amazed that there is still somebody who is in the organization. You know,
So much info. Yeah, but
I-
it
yeah,
is true. But at the same time, indoctrination is deep, and it's not only among Jehovah's Witnesses, because I'm pretty sure you don't agree with a whole bunch of other religions and what they teach, and yet they have much bigger numbers than Jehovah's Witnesses, right?
I- yeah, that's true. But uh, when you're in a witness family and you grew up, it's uh, it's part of your whole life. It's your family. We have a lot of my relatives are witnesses, and I got married when I was 20, and to a pioneer sister. I was also a regular pioneer, and then I was
Oh
a
wow.
ministerial servant, and I started a company with a brother, and we had sewing factories in Estonia and Latvia. We were making Gore-Tex clothing,
Okay.
but the thing which started me to start thinking about, is this really, the truth is that because since I was a kid, my dad and many of my uncles, we have always been hunting and fishing.
Hmm.
And I was working with making Gore-Tex clothing for hunters, and I have always trained dogs, hunting dogs, and you know uh, we have learned since we were small that Jehovah has created everything, and the animals and the earth and everything, and everything what Jehovah has created is perfect.
Hmm.
And the thing I was started me to think, it was when I was, we learned that in the paradise, the lions and tigers and everything, they are going to eat grass. They are not, killing and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And yeah, when you shoot, when you kill a grass-eating animal and you got it, you see that they look totally different inside than meat-eating animals.
Oh yeah, it wouldn't be the same animal anymore. It would be a totally
No,
different
no,
animal.
they have several
Different
stomach.
teeth, different digestive system, different, like everything
Yeah,
would be
yeah,
different. It
yeah,
wouldn't be the same animal.
yeah. And that was what made me start thinking that, you know, uh, because everything Jehovah has created is perfect, but if lions and tigers and wolves and they start to eat grass, then he has to make them over again, because they can't eat grass and still alive.
I'm gonna show you
And
something.
yeah, and then I was ministerial servants for many years, but I started to think more and more about that, and then I started to see other things which I thought it was not so according to everything. And
Can you see
the
this
yeah, a fish.
fish? Look what
Yeah,
the fish is eating.
uh, the picture is so small. I have the phone, so I don't see what it is.
It's a fish eating another fish.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
So there are tons of fossils of fish eating another fish, right?
Yeah.
There's tons of
I
them.
have been I have been to Canada several times fishing.
Yeah, like that. If you just Google fish eating another fish fossils, it will show you tons of pictures, right?
Yeah,
There's tons of fossils
yeah,
of fish eating fish, and those are fossils, which means they're very old. They're millions of years old. And when I showed this to one Jehovah's Witness, and I asked him, well, did the animals eat each other, in paradise, before the flood? And no, 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 of course not. They were all grass eaters, right? And I showed him those fossils, and it's amazing that the cognitive dissonance. He's looking at it, and he's thinking, well, maybe one fish died on top of another fish, and that's why the fossils kind of overlapped each other, right? Like
okay,
it's incredible how, a simple thing you can see with your own eyes,
yeah,
and you won't get it, right? Because you're thinking the fish did not eat another fish before.
yeah.
Uh, it's
And that
crazy.
that made me, after being, I have a lot of uh, speeches, and I even went to other congregations to have Sunday speeches, and even to other countries, to Finland. But after a while, my conscience said to me that if I'm standing on the podium and having points from the for the weekly meeting, or for uh, telling the other people in the congregation to go to the field service, and
Hmm.
that made me to have a bad conscience, because I felt that I'm lying to the people. So I talked to the elders, that I said I can't do this anymore, because I don't feel it's accurate to teach something which is not accurate.
Yeah, goes
And
against our conscience. You're right. It was the same thing
yeah,
with me. Some people can. Some people actually can. I couldn't do it.
yeah,
I couldn't do it.
and that started me to. I felt, I felt bad when I went to the congregation. I had three sons. One of my sons is dead now, but they never baptized, so they are not witnesses anymore.
Mm.
But 2016, we sold our house. I have had a bleeding in my head, so. But then we moved to a smaller uh, uh, house, and my wife told me, I had two dogs, hunting dogs. So she said that the dogs are not going to live with us anymore, if because we are moving to a smaller house. And
Hmm.
that was it. I I moved out, and is- essentially we divorced, and but she is still a witness, and uh, yeah, there's a lot of good people who are witnesses. Uh, it's only the organization uh, I have, I don't like the organization. I see that it uses people, and
Yeah,
also what I have seen the last years, it's more and more about money, everything.
they're bleeding money. Yeah, they're bleeding
Yeah,
money. It's
here in
but
Sweden.
I'm trying to stay on topic because today we're talking about fear. Did you experience fear leaving? Did you experience fear after you left?
Uh,
Did you overcome it?
when I was a kid, we have we had not so many in my own age uh, in the congregation, and so I was playing. I played hockey, and I played football with friends who were not witnesses.
Hmm.
And
I
also
helped.
in my working life, I was, yeah, it was 99% with people who are not
Oh
witnesses.
yeah, then
So I had a lot of
you
friends
didn't
who
feel
are
it that
witnesses.
much.
Yeah.
You didn't feel it that
So,
much. Yeah, it wasn't that big of
but,
adjustment.
yeah, but so I have never experienced the fear. In the beginning, uh, it was the fear. I felt the fear of that. Am I right? Am I, getting crazy because I have these thoughts, that I don't anymore believe that is the truth. Is it something wrong with me?
Yeah,
So that
yeah,
was my fears.
yeah. No, I hear you. I think you're not alone on this one. And were you raised as a witness?
Yeah, I was 4 years old when my parents become
Yeah,
witnesses.
so it's really deep in our subconscious when you're taught all those things when you were young, because we accept everything as reality until the age of 6, I believe, and then after the age of 6, we're starting to question things slowly up to the age of 12, and only at the age of about 12 we start thinking critically, and even then it's not so easy if somebody doesn't train us. So if you were a witness from very young age or raised in it, then you will accept everything what they say as truth because that's what you were told and that was the reality, until something happens drastically when totally um, contradicts your teachings, and you can see the evidence clearly, and you're like, something is wrong here, right? And it's
Yeah.
usually that whatever doubts that you had, you put on that shelf that says they know better than me, right? Like the governing body knows better than me, the organization
Yeah,
knows
yeah,
better than me. Who am I to question this, right? And then sometimes it's all that straw that breaks the camel's back or the shelf, and it just everything is after that is a domino effect of, oh, you know what? Maybe I have my own brain, and maybe I can actually think, and I can evaluate myself, right?
yeah.
But it takes
But I think
courage. It takes courage to do that.
the most affecting things when you get to, like a teenager and starting to grow up to be a young adult is that you have the organization, they presses you that you you always have a bad account that you are never doing enough.
Yes.
They want you to believe that you can always do better, and you are thinking, how am I doing? Am I Can I do something more? And I remember when I was younger, when I was like 10 and a kid still, always, if you had done something you thought what was wrong, you think, okay, I'm not coming to the paradise.
Yeah. The biggest fear
And
of them all is that we're not enough and we won't be
yeah,
loved,
yeah.
right?
And
And they
that's the
definitely know how to use that fear for their
yeah,
advantage.
it's the fear. And I think in the organization that fear starts from the, even from the when you are a kid, if you're raised in it.
Hmm. Oh yeah,
So you have a
absolutely.
fear that if you're doing something wrong, or you have a bad conscience about something, okay, I'm not coming to the paradise.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah, they
it's
put the paradise out as a carrot, and a stick was the Armageddon, and that's what keeps people moving,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Plus,
yeah.
they give
So
you the identity that also, locks you in. So
yeah,
that's
so
what
you
happens.
you raised up with the fear.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for coming,
Yeah,
and I
thank
hope
you.
you catch
I
some
really
sleep.
try to listen every time you, Jack, are having your program, and it's I have to say it's very very nice to hear. And now when it's internet and everything, that the X the JW uh, are, it's a big growing community,
Yes, for
and
sure.
we can support each other, and yeah, that's really important.
It is. It is. Okay. Awesome. Thank you
Have a
for
nice
coming. And
night. I try to
yeah,
sleep now.
all right. Take care.
Thank you having me.
All
Fear.
right. We got
Bye now. Bye.
Joe and Fran.
Hello.
Hi, guys. Thank you for
Hi.
joining. Where are you
You
from? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Central New York State.
Central New York. Okay. So you're in the same time zone.
Yes. Where are you, Jack?
Cool. I'm in Toronto, just a little bit
Ah,
up north.
very good. Um, we were thinking about fear as you asked in the topic. Um, I I'd have to think about that. There were other things that motivated us other than fear. Fran, unless you can say
Are you
something about
talking
fear.
about fear getting out of the organization or when we
Fear
were
once
in it?
out.
Either way. Well, I mentioned few things. Fear
Yeah.
when you were in it as a Jehovah's Witness. What were you afraid of? A lot of people were afraid of um, giving
Okay.
talks or Armageddon or
Well,
um,
here. Let me. Okay.
going door to door. And then when you leave, you're afraid of questioning. You're afraid
I,
of your family. You're afraid of who
I
you're going to
think.
meet on the door.
Okay. I think I can relate to this now. You've jogged my
Now we can
mind.
see you better.
Um,
Yeah, we turn the light on.
Thank you.
I was, I was, while we were in early on, especially my my fear was triggered tremendously for my children. That
Right. Oh yeah.
if they didn't comply, obey, that they would be in a very bad situation, and if they would be disapproved. They would lose. And I really, really, truly, truly regret that. I should never have been so influenced like that. Um,
Yeah, we were not born in.
no,
We came in when we were 33. We had 3 children, and I was pregnant for the youngest.
yeah,
So they were born into it. But Joe and I,
Mhm.
no.
we went to college. We had a life.
Catholic
Did they
Church.
leave,
I'm
or
sorry.
are they still in it?
Oh, they're deeply in it.
Very
Yeah,
deeply.
Very good.
three pioneers,
All
Oh, wow.
pioneers, all elders.
3 elders.
They
You
all
lost them
learned.
all?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm
They
really
all
sorry to
learned
hear
it.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
71. We're 71, and they're in their 40s and 30s.
And no contact?
None. 0.
How long?
Oh, at least a year.
A year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least
Also,
a
it's
year.
fresh.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So how
Yeah.
did you guys wake up? That's a very interesting story. I really want to know.
I personally, I don't. I think I was always awake. I always viewed the organization as a corporation, and not really a religion. And they always seemed like they were a corporation that was trying to pretend to be a religion. In other
Mhm.
words, it was a really slick marketing campaign.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I was personally, the only reason I chose to continue with the family is because I felt it could have been good for the family involvement. We had 4 children, 4 little ones, and there were other little families, and I felt it would be a good environment for family. But personally, I personally didn't appreciate it, but I went along with it, and I accepted it for the sake of the family. It was a mistake. It really was a mistake.
You believed it back then. You did the best what you could. You believed you were doing the right thing for the family.
I
So
believed I was doing the right thing for the family, but
yeah, it's never a mistake to do something right for the family.
I agree, totally agree. But unfortunately, the conflict was I really didn't believe what they were saying, nor how they were going about it. So there was a conflict that I should have resolved at the time. But at any rate,
And I was the one who wanted to go to meetings because I'm social. Joe said, well, we could go every other week. And then we missed a week. And I said, oh, we could be at the meetings. And that was the worst thing I could have done because we got sucked right in. You know, they just love bomb you, and you've got a young family. And
I was open. I was very open. I was trained to, I had all sorts of training in college. And the last thing was counseling. And I was open. I was, my goal was to see how it could be beneficial and something that the family could benefit from, even though I personally wasn't.
How did you guys wake up?
I personally was awaking sooner when I realized that the elders really weren't shepherds. They were portrayed as shepherds, but they really behaved as enforcers, as policemen. Very
Managers or police
very
officers. Yes.
yeah, not even managers. It goes beyond managers. They were enforcers.
And it was during the pandemic, so we were on Zoom a lot, and Joe just got sick of seeing the governing body.
As soon as the governing body started showing their faces, I started getting very, very angry because I had absolutely no respect for them. I just didn't get a good feel for them. It just further reinforced my view of them as corporate, very, very corporate. But at any rate, we again, that was
during the
pandemic.
It was December of 2021,
But
and I was regular auxiliary pioneering.
yeah,
I was I was out in service that day.
Yeah.
Wait. During the pandemic?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Remind
Why
me,
not?
how did you guys pioneer during pandemic? Was that like
Now
you do
you
whatever
made
hours and you just call yourself pioneer and that was good enough?
no, you made a lot of phone calls, and you wrote a lot of letters, and we were on Zoom. Oh yeah, we would. I would make my hours. I was regular auxiliary, so it was 50 hours, and
We know how to be good examples.
we were a very good example.
Right.
We're trained.
We have quote unquote professional training. So let's do this professionally.
I was a
Let's
teacher.
do this right.
I was a teacher. Joe was counseling, so we knew how to get in there and do it.
You know, we were
Mhm.
people oriented plus professional, and it's like we saw what the society's direction was. Let's just do it. And so we did. That was easy. That was the easy part. But unfortunately, at one point, and this was previously to the pandemic, one of the sisters in the congregation was really concerned about sending her money to the Watchtower because she felt that it was going toward paying off pedophile cases, and that was a total shock to me. Total shock. I hadn't heard any such thing like that, and I dismissed it.
Yeah.
But it was only after we started seeing the governing body in person on stage that I started to become very. They became very objectionable, and at that point, I said, I need to have more information.
And then during the pandemic, when they started,
Oh
first
yeah,
they said,
yeah.
you don't have to get vaccinated, but then they said, oh, 99% of Bethel is vaccinated.
Yeah.
They just kept saying all these things
I-
that didn't make sense.
I mean, to me, it was one day they were professing the fact that it was according to our conscience, and then the next day they got a phone call from the government, and they started pushing another agenda. It was just so obvious. It was just so obvious. And so we
It
started.
it is very odd that they were pushing it to that extent because I thought they're just gonna keep it. That's what the government says. You know what I mean? And
Oh no, isn't it
we
almost?
just teach whatever the Bible says, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the government says is whatever the
No,
government says. Whatever we say, we say.
it was such a sharp shift. And at that point, I said, I knew they got a call. They got a call from someone higher up, and they started pushing something else. And at that point, I said, I need to check more about these. I need to find more information out. Whereas previously, I purposely did not go to any other quote unquote apostate sites. I didn't do that because, well, no one in the family appreciated me doing that,
Of
the
course.
young ones. And so, okay, I won't. But then at that point, I said, no, I'm going to. And at that point, the very first site that I saw was Falling Towers. Matt, he was an elder. I don't know his last name, but it was very good. It was very helpful. And from there on,
So I came home from service. It was on a Monday, and Joe said, I need to show you something. And I could just tell by his tone of voice and his seriousness. And, I put the hand up and I said, no, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. He said, you really need to hear this. It's not going to go well for us if you don't. Because we had marital problems in the beginning. And so, we kind of had a rough night that night. But the next day I said, all right, if you feel it's that important, then yes, I'll look at it. And we did. We looked at some different channels. And I didn't see anything that really was disturbing that I thought until it was about a week afterwards we saw the ARC. And I said, that's it. I said, no, I cannot be part of this if they're hiding child sexual abuse. And we were, that from that point on, we were primo.
yeah, we stopped sending any money or giving any money or any support like that.
And I called the elder and I said, I think I need a break. I've been doing this for 5 years and I don't think I can pioneer right now. And he said, "Oh, okay, if you need any help with anything, let us know." Never went back.
Yeah.
It's
And
funny.
then,
I started watching Australia Royal Commission live when it was actually happening. Right.
Oh
wow,
boy.
Fun.
wow,
Yeah. Funny enough, I was still an elder. I was still a believer. My sister, who was a fanatical, she told me about it. Right.
Wow.
Because they just started,
Oh my
and
goodness.
she said, yeah, people in Bethel are talking about it, and it's just starting this case. And I was, because they're going through all the religions, right? So of course we're just one of the religions, and I was certain that because they're going through all the religions, we're gonna be the shining
Of
example of
course.
how
Of
things should be
course. Of
taken
course.
care of compared to
Of
everybody else, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And from my own experience, I remember there was a pedophile case years ago, over 20 years ago, when the guy admitted what he did, and the elders went to talk to him, and they told him, "We're giving you 1 week. You're going to the police, and you're reporting yourself. And if you don't, we will." Right? So they did the right thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I believed that all the cases are handled like that.
right, yeah,
So I'm like, we're gonna be the shining example here. We're gonna show all the other churches how it's done, how we don't tolerate this kind of evil, that we don't cover up things like the church in the Catholic Church and whatever, right? We don't do any stuff like that.
Hmm.
And then I'm like,
yeah.
I
no,
know. I know. I
what
know.
the hell?
No,
I know. I know.
Ah, that
I
was a
know.
wake up call for me
And
too. Yeah.
at that point, the cognitive dissonance steps in. You're trying to convince yourself of something that you know. And it was, I said, we can't go on like this. It either is
Yeah.
or it isn't.
there was one thing that I feared because we had been watching these videos, and our daughter
Oh,
would come
yeah.
over,
Oh, yeah. That's true.
and I tried to get rid of them on my iPad, but Joe had one open,
Yeah.
and she was sitting right here where Joe's sitting, and I was sitting here,
Yeah.
and she looks at the iPad, and she sees that it was a couple, and they said something about leaving the watchtower or something, and she kind of just looked at me, and I looked at her, and I
Yeah.
said,
See,
that's it.
yeah.
It's
See,
like,
in no way did I want to give any impression that we would, that I would cave in to anything and go against what we were finding. In other words, I didn't want to play. I didn't want to hide from them. I mean, I didn't want to have that kind of a dishonest relationship with them. And so I really didn't mind that she found out. I wanted it
it
to.
was inevitable. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But
But anyway, but
sorry,
then,
finish your story.
oh, then we told the elder. We called, told the elders we needed something to talk to them about, and we informed them of what we found, and told them how we didn't find that very acceptable.
we talked to the
What did they
elders.
say?
They said it was a lie. They said you can't believe anything on the internet. And that wouldn't happen here. We would never do that here.
Whatever. I said it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you found. What matters is what is. And it's like so. And there's no way we were pacified,
No.
and they knew that. And they knew that.
Did you guys write a letter?
Not right.
Not
Well,
right away.
yeah. Well, actually,
We went to a lawyer.
the very next thing we did, we went to a lawyer, and we wanted.
Lawyer?
And I crafted a letter, and then sent it to the
Elders
the
and the
COs and whoever else, and to let them know what we found, how we felt about it, and that we did not want our names mentioned in the congregation, and if they did, we would take whatever legal action we could against them,
Okay.
because we just simply didn't want it brought out at that point for the sake of our family and everything. It wasn't
Did it
time.
work?
Just wasn't time.
Did it
And
work?
so,
Yeah, it
Oh,
worked.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
They didn't. Oh, they
Oh,
were
yeah.
afraid. They
Yeah.
didn't touch us.
yeah,
But they did give us they rather than calling it a marking talk, they called it a warning talk. They were really trying to be easy on us because
see, here's the thing. For us to do what we did, and for them to see that in the congregation, it would alert so many as to maybe there was something going on. In other words, we were very good examples.
Yeah.
So if we were onto something, then they wanted to hide that from the rest of the congregation, basically.
Always,
But a lot,
yeah.
yeah,
That's
but
the
a lot
top
of
value
them,
is for the congregation not to find out that
yeah,
somebody has different beliefs.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But they knew, and our family knew, and
yeah.
that's when the shunning started.
So, well, here's this is the worst part. The elder that brought us in, and I would say shoehorned us into the congregation, is who was then became a CO. Was the same one who called. In fact, I chose to call him to share with him. I mean, I just wanted full exposure. We wanted to share things. I didn't want things to be hidden. That's just the way we operate. I shared it with him. His father had been influenced by Ray Fran's crisis of conscience, and ever since his father left, this man Dan, frankly, started hating his father for what he did, and so now he saw us and me going that same direction, and he had it in for me. He immediately went to my children and got them and told them that we were dangerous.
Yeah.
And so the shunning began right then. It was.
And that's the thing, because they are trained to fear everybody who's leaving, whoever questions, whoever is even, as they call, weak spiritually, fear them, because they can destroy your faith. I remember I got 3 sisters, also very deeply in, and I talked to them, and I talked to one of them. I told them one at a time, and I said, you don't have to worry about me ever trying to destroy your faith. If you want to know why I changed my mind, then ask me. I'm not going to lie to you. But if you don't want to know, I will never touch that subject. Right.
Yeah.
And we can still be family. What I'm asking you is to treat me the same way you're treating our Catholic family, who have a different beliefs. Right.
Yeah.
We don't have to agree on everything, but that doesn't mean that we don't love each other. It doesn't mean that we cannot spend time together. Just like you spending time with them, you can spend time with us. And I will never be trying to even undermine your faith or your children's faith or your husband or whatever. If you want to talk about it, great. But if you don't want to talk about it, I won't touch it.
Yeah.
So they didn't know what to do with me, because technically they're trained to be, on alert, because we're always trying to pull them in, get the disciples after ourselves. But if somebody's telling you, I ain't doing that, then what do you do? And I was in this fellowship, and I didn't write this association letter either. So, it took them a while to answer me, but eventually I just got a letter saying, for the sake of my relationship with Jehovah, it is better that we keep our relationship, our contact only to family matters, right? Which is it's almost like it was written from a watchtower. You know what I mean? Like the same word for word wording you can find all around the world. Jehovah's Witnesses writing to their family members, pretty much the same stuff.
Our children said the same thing. Just if there's an emergency, let us know.
But that really isn't working that way.
No, it's not working at all. Did you guys ever regret it? Because you guys are up in age already, right? You said you're 71.
Not one. No, I regret that I didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, I wish we
That's
had known
amazing. So many people say, they're afraid of leaving at this age because they're like, in their 70s. Or even younger than you guys, and they're like, no, there's no way I'm going to be able to rebuild my social network. Where I'm going to find friends.
No, see, we were 30. Jack, we were 33 when we came in. We had so many years of education.
We also had family that were not witnesses.
So no, we had.
So that helped.
And they're also Catholic. But you know what? My mother never shunned me when I left the Catholic Church to become a Jehovah's Witness. She didn't like it.
No, but never shunned.
But she never shunned me.
Yeah. No, there was more love shown in our family than there ever was in that organization.
Yeah, so we
Hmm.
have a lot of support. And now what we're doing is we're supporting others, and we're reaching out
Yeah.
and connecting people.
Yeah.
We do the Rick Fearon. We do every other week. We call it the outside story,
Yeah.
and people call in. They want to meet someone in their locality, so we do that. We have meetups. We just had a
Just had a
meetup
meetup
here, a
tonight.
live meetup. There
Oh,
was 11 of
wonderful.
us. Yeah, we had dinner,
Wonderful.
and so we're really trying to
No,
make up for the
I
time that we lost in that
yeah, no,
organization.
we can't do enough. We simply can't do enough.
Oh, and we're going to Washington D.C. We're going to be there.
Oh
We're
yeah,
tracking down. Yeah.
that's in a few days from now, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're leaving
Oh,
Monday.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's about 6.5 hours from us.
Did you guys hear about um, our seminar in Boston?
No.
No, no, we're doing a seminar in Boston, November 18 and 19.
Okay.
It's one of a kind, 2 days, actually 2.5 days, because we're starting Friday evening with getting to know each other, and there's 2 days of really awesome seminar, like 8 speakers. Um, if you want to know more, if you're on my channel, you'll
Uh-huh.
see. I'm actually gonna post this webpage on the comment right now. Uh,
Great. I'm glad you told us. I had no idea.
Seminars, empowered seminars. I think that's the website.
We went on a cross.
Or he wants it.
Oh,
I think that's the
Yeah.
one. Y- Oh, look at that! What
Fran
is
wants
that?
to show off.
yeah, I was a teacher, so we have this map. We took a cross country trip all the way to California. We took the lower route, and coming home, we took the higher route. And all these pins and green stickers are people that we saw, ex Jehovah's Witnesses, and we
Oh,
were here with them, or lunch or breakfast. We
how
stayed in their
wonderful!
homes, and these are all the people that we had met previous.
You guys have to join us. Okay, so I'll tell you a little about. I don't know if you know what we do. We have a group on Facebook called Empowered Minds, ex Jehovah's
Yeah.
Yeah,
Witnesses.
yeah,
Are you
yeah.
part of that group?
I think we're
So you
part.
know we
Yeah,
have, yeah. So we have all the meetups. I don't think we have a meetup in New York, to be honest. And if you're willing to take a lead on that group, then contact Rodney Allgood. He's the one organizing all the meetup groups,
Okay.
and he'd be more than happy to collaborate with you guys. Right?
That'd be great. That'd be so
S-
nice. Yeah, our
It's
goal.
fantastic. I'm running one in Toronto. We have such a huge bonds. It's so awesome to see
Right.
people joining, some people were like, I've been out for like 15 years. I've been looking for some sort of support group.
We
I didn't know there's any Jehovah's Witnesses, ex
yes.
Jehovah's Witnesses. I've been alone for all those years, and it's like see tears in their eyes. Like it's just incredible. Right?
we have found we've got over what 200 or so names that we've been steadily uh, gleaning and then interconnecting with each other, and it's just the most beautiful experience.
Isn't that amazing?
It's just
And I
beautiful.
tell you what happened, because we did few of those seminars and we went on cruises together. We did a whole bunch of things together. You probably know if you're part of the group. But what is amazing about the seminars is on day one, when we meet on Friday night in a restaurant, we started chatting. Nobody knows each other. Maybe two or three people, like what speakers know each other, right? But the rest just strangers, complete strangers, right? And at the end of that seminar on Friday on Sunday night, we can't say goodbye to each other. It's like it's impossible. Like, I don't want to go.
I know.
I can't believe it's over. And
I know.
comparing that to all the assemblies
I know.
that we went to,
Yep.
I know.
where
no-
you couldn't wait to finish. I'm like, oh man,
There's,
this
there,
last talk is so
there's
long.
there's no comparison.
You can.
That's why if we wasted 36 years getting away from close and proper relationships and loving, now we have a few years left to work at the real relationships. and it
Yes.
truly is. It's heartwarming. It's beautiful. It's powerful. It's everything good.
And a lot that are out are like in their 30s, 40s, and they've adopted us as their parents because their parents
Oh,
are shunning them. And so
yes.
we have a
we
lot of
we
adoptive children.
there's one young man. He's what,
He's
50?
50.
50.
He's
He's young
young
man. Okay. He
compared to us.
he was shunned by his family. Um, he was on the road working as in a certain capacity. It fell through. Found himself homeless literally on the streets in Massachusetts
Massachusetts.
for better
Well,
part of a
a
week,
week. Yeah, a
on
good
the
week.
street
Yeah.
in the rainiest part of the season too.
Cold,
We
rainy.
felt bad for him, but I said there's little we helped him a little in the way that we could, but then beyond that, I knew he had to work something out, whatever it was. Well, it turned out a crew that was installing the big, huge windmills in Massachusetts discovered him there and said, why are you here? What's wrong? Why are you here like this? They're from Holland, and they don't have homeless in Holland. So when they saw something like that, they wondered, why do you have to do this? What's going on with you? And he explained to him he's homeless. There was no room for anything else, et cetera, et cetera. So the one of the fellows says, "You've got my breakfast. I'm going to bring you breakfast every day." And then another one came the same thing. He didn't know, but then it turned out that someone said, "Would you like a job?" And with that night,
Yeah.
that night
they got him into
he
a
was in a
hotel
hotel
room,
room.
and
Oh,
he just
wow.
cried. He just broke down and cried
I
because
believe it. Yeah.
prior to that, being homeless, he was on the road with this truck, and it kept breaking down, and the owner was kind of, what's the word?
Oh, he was shady.
Shady. Yeah.
But at any rate, I'm not going to mention his name right now, but he's I would call him a light worker. In other words, he connects well with each other on a spiritual level, and his care and concern is for persons in a special way, and we connected because of that. And I told him, I said, good people find good people. You will get into
Yes.
you can absolutely trust that. We it just is real. It just happens. And he did.
And
And he
as it
did.
turned out, their next project was up where we live, and he ended up again. They didn't have a position for him, so now he calls us and he says he's in Utica, which is 10 miles away, and he says, "I don't have a position. I don't have a place to stay." We said,
He says, "We'll pick you up."
we said we're 10 miles away, so we picked him up, and he was with us for a whole week. Finally got a position, brought him to the train station, and now he's in Oklahoma City working with this crew. And
He's part of
just,
our family.
yeah,
He's our family.
yeah, he's our son.
He's our family.
Yep.
I call it a chosen family,
Yeah.
upgraded family, right?
See, this is the love that I knew that they did not have when I was in.
Yes.
I just
Yes.
knew it, and it was so frustrating to be involved so long with something that I knew was not there and that we would never find. And so we have a little time left to
yeah. The time we have
cultivate that.
remaining, that's what we're doing. We're helping people.
And it's energizing. It's beautiful, and my concern is for my family and other ones, young or old, that are shunning, that they at some point realize the loss that they've agreed to because of shunning, and that somehow that they come to heal. They're going to have that problem. They don't know it yet. They don't know it yet, but there are some of them that are going to be conscience stricken, and that are going to need support. They're going to need welcoming, inviting, caring, because maybe they're going to feel unworthy maybe they're going to feel like they put themselves outside of our love, and we want to make sure.
We have an ex-brother. He's 75 years old. He was in for 50 years. He's married. His wife is in. He's got 2 granddaughters that are in.
Talk about fear. He's afraid. He's afraid of his wife finding out, and I mean afraid.
He calls us and he'll vent, and then, you know, she'll be in the store, and then he'll say, "I got to hang up now. She's coming." And this is a 75-year-old man that's afraid of his wife.
Well, he's afraid of losing his grandchildren.
Yeah, it's not afraid that she's gonna kill you. It's just afraid you're gonna lose her. I relate. I relate. My wife did not wake up. You guys are lucky. You have no idea how lucky you are that you have each other. But imagine one woke up and the other one didn't.
Yeah,
Oh,
it would be torture
well, you know,
for both of you.
We had someone call us the other night from Hawaii.
Oh yeah.
It was her 2:30 in the morning. She was in her car. They apparently didn't have a very good night that night or whatever. She called us. And it was our
8 o'clock in the morning.
And you know, she was at her wit's end because her husband, who had been out, was getting cold feet and wanted in again.
Yeah.
And here she had been out, so she's going nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have children.
Yep.
And they have children.
They have a 4-year-old
who now he feels responsible to teach that child about Jehovah, and she's going crazy with that. And
yeah, I had those phone calls too. It's really tough.
And I told her, I said, look, you're not going to change his mind. The best you're going to do is show him the love that he will never get from that organization.
I love you guys already. Because you think so much like me. It's crazy. No, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. Just like we don't want somebody else to control our mind and force us to believe something we don't want.
I wouldn't
will
want
never
that.
work.
I wouldn't want that. I live by example. I live by inspiration.
Yes.
I'm inspired by others.
Yes.
And I'm moved that way.
100%.
And honest, and like I say, love never fails, but it's the long game. It's you have to be in it for the long game. It's a war, but it's a long
love
war.
can win, but unfortunately I know from my own experience, my sisters, we were very close. Okay, we're doing everything together, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
We were traveling together, we were visiting each other all the time. We were very close because my father was a Catholic, he was opposing, so that brought us together, right? Because we had to fight against him. If you have a common enemy, especially at home, kids had to stick together, right? So we were super close.
Wow.
And now that I left, my sister, she doesn't talk to me, but we had a 20-year anniversary, and she came to our home and she gave us a gift, and she left it in front of the house and she tried to run back to the car so nobody sees her. And I opened the door and I chased her down the driveway, right? And I gave her the biggest hug, and we both held each other, and we both had tears in our eyes. We were both very emotional.
Yeah.
And I tell you, it was this beautiful moment, but I felt her pain and I felt the pain myself.
Yeah.
Because I know she loves me. I know she cares about me. I know she wants me back. Yeah. She's probably afraid I'm gonna die at Armageddon and stuff like this. And I see that it's so unfortunate that the pain is on both sides, and a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses forget that. They forget that, like, oh, they're shining me. They don't have to shun me. My door is always open, right? So it's on them and blah blah blah.
See, Jack,
it's not that simple. It's not that simple, because when we were Jehovah's Witnesses, many of us shunned our friends. I shunned my friend when he was disfellowshipped. So you know what I mean? And I felt the pain of a loss of a friend. We were the closest friends ever, and then all of a sudden I got to shun him. And I told him that he has to report himself to the elders because he told me about all the girls he slept with, right? So so I'm like, now the sin is on me. Like you got to go, because like I'm covering your sin. The indoctrination is there, so powerful. We will understand them. They will not understand us, and we can't expect that they will.
No,
right?
They've made it. See, normally society's developed so that you don't have to be a genius to get along with each other in it. You know, there's rules, there's culture, there's arrangements, so that, you know, everyone can get along and help each other be happy. Well, that Watchtower organization made it so that it would be almost impossible for someone, for people in that organization to get along normally, normally, because it's distorted their minds, it's distorted their values, it's distorted everything. And unless they can, well, they call it deconstruct,
Yes.
and then build, they're not going to. They're going to be ruined, and that's the what I fear, Jack. That's what I fear. And there are some people that are going to be absolute casualties. Period.
Oh yeah.
So I ask myself, which ones in my family are going to be the casualties?
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't know. But you know, I'm sure there will be. I don't know. But they have the opportunity. They have the If we do our part, it's the best thing we can do.
Yeah.
See,
That's what I tell people. That I've seen people who woke up in their 70s, and I asked them the same question: do you guys regret or whatever? Is it better to just the older people? Is it better not to wake them up, not to tell them anything? And they
oh,
told me, no, absolutely not. I absolutely love the fact that I can live free
oh
for
yeah.
whatever the amount of time that I have left.
That's
Jack,
right.
I tell
It's like
people,
when you know you've been in prison and somebody says, do you want to live outside prison for a
yeah,
few years, or do you want to remain in
Yeah.
prison for the rest of
Right.
your life? Well,
you know, the
you know,
That's
what's
a good one.
well here's the fear that PMOs have, that and here's the fear that they don't have. And the fear that they do have is losing something from leaving. I understand that. No one becomes part of that organization without loss. They're going to suffer loss
yes,
if they leave. So they figure, well, if I leave and fake it, I won't lose. And from what it seems, some are quite comfortable to fake it. But what they don't realize is that the loss they're going to suffer from realizing that they never lived their life.
mm,
They're going to lose.
if
They're
some,
going to
yeah,
realize that loss later in life when it's way too late to do anything about it. So, that's what I remind the PMOs. I said, you're trying to avoid loss, but if you fail to gain your own life, how are you ever going to get over that loss? You only have so much time.
yeah, it's
So
good if you say
it's
it.
a tough
Yeah.
choice. It's a tough choice.
And I think that's the biggest challenge that people don't see, that the most precious thing that we have in life is time.
Yeah, yeah,
And the Watchtower took that time away in enormous time, in an enormous chunk.
oh yeah,
When you are an average JW, average, I'm not talking pioneer or Bethelite, average,
yeah.
you're putting 20 hours a week
You gave them your
for
life.
all.
You give them
You
your
know what I
life.
mean? So you go to work and then 40 hours a week to work, and then you got to put additional 20 hours on just average, regular average hours in ministry, regular average hours going to the meetings, preparation for the meetings, reading all the stuff and conventions and assemblies, average 20 hours a week. Now, what's left if you're working for 60 hours a week, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. There's no time for nothing else, right? Very
I know.
very little for,
I
and
know.
there could be a little bit of time of, I don't know, entertainment and stuff, but there is no room for personal growth.
No.
There's no room for you
No.
to learn new skills, to develop yourself, to read other books, right? It's
You,
I remember when I started in the personal development, I was criticized very strongly. I didn't know why, right? I'm like, I'm just trying to become better witness, better husband, better whatever. And they're like, no, you should just stick with our literature and our
yeah.
conventions. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
you're going somewhere for different things. And I'm like, well, it's helping me. At the
Yeah.
beginning, it was helping me to even become a better witness, because I was paralyzed by fear of public
Yeah.
speaking and stuff like that.
Ah,
And
yes.
I learned how to how to overcome all those fears, thanks to people, not Jehovah's Witness, but thanks to
Right.
other
Yes.
seminars and coaches and whatever that I went to.
Good for
Um,
you.
so they noticed the difference. So after a while, they're like, oh, they backed off. My family's kind of backed off. Like,
Yeah.
well, we're just
Yeah.
going to keep an eye on him, right?
That's right. That's right.
uh,
Oh,
but you know what? Now when I think about him, time has passed, like almost 10 years since I started questioning.
Wow.
And my mother is a PMO, so I contact her, and she contacts my sisters. But I see their life still the same. 10 years later, still the same, identical. Nothing changed over there. The kids grew a little taller, but they still do the same things. They still believe the same thing. They still have the same routine. And I'm looking at myself 10 years ago, and I'm looking at myself now
oh yeah.
as like a totally different person.
I know.
If we were to sit with my family, they wouldn't even know me,
Yeah.
because I grew so much. My
Here.
mind grew
I
so
know.
much. I expanded so on so many levels,
I
right?
know.
With
And
things,
you
and
see, and this is
they're
where
the
this,
same.
Jack, and this is where that difference is going to be tough to connect, unless
Yes.
we go out of our way. For example, our our kids aren't going to identify with us and the way we speak or what we look forward to,
Mhm.
what we think, unless we accommodate them.
Yes, you have to
They're
dumb
gonna
yourself down.
they're
Yeah.
gonna feel that. I mean, they're gonna feel that self consciousness
Hmm.
unless they make that trip, and unless they are being influenced in ways that we don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
know.
But that's what I perceive. I
Oh,
think it's going to be
100%.
yeah
100%. It's like you guys went through university and they're still at a kindergarten level. And
yeah
I know.
in order for you to have a common ground, you have to dumb
yeah
yourself down. You have to
Yeah.
just go
yeah.
down to their
Well,
level
it's, well,
and
one
talk
of
about the little things.
the one PMO, the one PMO talks about saying they got to wake up and smell the coffee. He says, and I said, that's right. I like that concept because we, when a person is sleeping, they're sleeping, but as they start to rouse, and if they smell coffee or bacon or something, it helps them wake up. Well, I say, well, we've got to be that coffee. We've
Yeah.
got to be that coffee that they would wake up to. Um,
Oh man, I love what you guys saying, because majority of XJWs are focusing on what to run away from,
oh my God!
right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, I
Mhm.
know.
And they don't give anything to run away to.
Yeah, I know.
And
Well,
it's so much more important to show, hey, you know what? Okay, you guys have love. I'm not gonna criticize your conditional love. I'm gonna show you there is better love out there. There is unconditional love. There is love that you can show to anyone, regardless of their status in the congregation, or their sexual orientation, or
right,
their religion or background or beliefs. You can show love towards anyone,
Right.
including your enemies, which are the
right,
apostates and people who left the organization, right? They're humans too. You upgrade your love, right? You upgrade your social network, you upgrade your mind, you upgrade your knowledge. It's not just, okay, this is what you believe, it's all garbage, forget it, because then it creates trauma, nothing else.
oh,
But when you
oh,
but when you show that their life can get better, and you show them the bacon and coffee, instead of just bringing a cold bucket of water and dumping on
oh,
their head.
oh. And it's so disorienting and
It
destabilizing for them.
is.
They
Oh, 100%.
it's see, I have to compare it to like when, for example, in student personnel, I was in counseling, and student personnel. Freshmen would come into college from all different high schools, all different cultures, all different um, abilities, and all different values. And here they would be thrown together. And, they needed basically help in learning how to get along with each other, how to pick up new habits, how to,
Mhm.
everything,
How to get along.
how to get along.
Yeah.
And that's,
But
I'm sure it's going to be about the same way.
But you guys did it so quickly. This is
Well,
rare. This is what, 1 year you said?
took 6 years.
We have these buttons we made up. We wear these all over. And we were at the train station when we were dropping off our adopted son. And this man saw Joe's
Saw
button.
mine.
And he came over and he sat down to him next to him.
Yeah.
And he wanted to know what it was all about.
So we had a great conversation
Yeah.
for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And
I talked with a woman, and we were both having separate conversations.
and what we do also is we pass this out when we're out witnessing.
Beware of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Postcard.
Okay.
Yep. We sent.
What is it? What's on it?
Oh, you got to read it.
Okay. It says, why are massive numbers of Jehovah's Witnesses leaving the watchtower of religion? And then bold, child sexual abuse, court cases, Jehovah's Witnesses sentenced, ongoing investigations and congregations subpoenaed, and then shunning practice by members destroys families and individuals, proven to be damaging. High rates of depression and suicides among members and families. And then as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, we offer information and needed support. We respect your privacy. Please contact us. We name our name and then email.
And so I've been sending them out to the different schools, principals, social workers,
Hand them out to everybody.
guidance counselors.
Everybody at our business.
Yeah. And we go to the bus stop, we go to the train station, just to anybody, really.
Public
You guys are
aware.
pioneers now. Are you counting your time?
That's right. Yeah,
Let me check.
On witnessing?
Jack, let me tell you, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to send a time
Oh, it's almost
card
time.
to,
It's the end of the month.
we're going to send a time card to Bethel so that they see it. It's going to be visible. It's going to be on the back of a card. So when they look at it, it's going to be right there in front of them.
Yep. We're going to put our hours, our
On
places,
witnessing.
our return visits.
This is war.
Bible studies, the converted ones, the saved ones, number of saved ones from the watchtower. That would be good.
Saved from
Jack, this is war, but it's a war where people win.
We're having fun with it.
We're actually,
and we're really helping people.
You know how we were GWs, we thought we were saving lives. I didn't know we were imprisoning lives.
Oh,
and
so true.
Truthfully, right now we are saving lives. We're saving the rest of people's lives that they have, so they won't have to serve time in a mental prison.
Yeah, I went back to the ones that I was studying with and returned visits.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah. And they were glad because they didn't take it serious. So I was glad I didn't have any that got baptized. No. So that was good.
No.
Wow.
We have
it is not easy to become a witness. They I don't know about you guys. I don't know if you converted anybody, but for 35 years of
just our four children, unfortunately.
Yeah. I only had one person that I studied with, and he became a witness. I don't know if he's a witness anymore, because last time I was in his congregation was maybe like about 10 years ago, something like that. And they said that he's not really active. Like he still comes once in a while, right? But very rarely, right?
Wow.
He was very involved in the business and stuff, but I don't know if he's awake. I have no contact with him, so it is what it is. Yeah, people waking up all the time.
And it's a tremendous awakening taking place now. It really, really is. It really is. In fact, interestingly, on the front of our signboard on the road, we just changed the letters the other day. It says the Bible. Yes, no, maybe. Let's talk.
With our phone number.
Oh, okay.
The conversation is needed. That's the big conversation now among the theology students is what place does religion play in people's lives today? What changes are needed? Should we get rid of religion? Can it be changed? What do people really need in today's age from religion?
Mhm.
So
Somebody's asking a question. They said, "Hey Jack, what is the seminar about in Boston?" So I'm just gonna talk for just a
Yeah,
couple
yeah,
of
good.
minutes about
we'll
it.
listen. We'll listen.
Uh, Basically, every seminar is different. So because we have different speakers on every seminar, so you can catch up later saying, "Oh, I'll catch the next one." Some people say, "Oh," because we did like I think 5 of them. We did in LA, we did in New Jersey, we did in Dallas, um, we did in San Diego, and now we're doing one in Boston. So it's 3 days. Friday evening, we're just meeting for dinner, and we're getting to know each other. Saturday, Sunday, different speakers discuss different topics, but we're not discussing religion. It's not about
Mhm.
finding out which doctrine
Right.
is right or
Right,
wrong
Right.
and
right.
Right.
bringing out. It's 100% about moving forward, right?
Uh-huh.
How to overcome the old programming, how to
Yeah,
overcome fears, how
yeah,
to do networking, how to learn how to get self-confident,
yeah,
right? All those topics. Basically, it's like a self-improvement seminar designed for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, with
yeah,
all the challenges that they're facing by leaving the organization, with all the wrong habits, all the programming that they have in.
Mhm.
We're helping people to change their lives, and believe me, we had some amazing results seeing people's breaking through some major challenges that they didn't even realize they had
yeah,
Uh-huh.
after
yeah,
20
Yeah.
years. They're like, I 20 years I have not been a witness. I forgot most of it. And they realized a lot of stuff that they
Mhm.
have a lot of problems they have in the life.
Yes.
yeah,
It's because the programming,
yeah.
Yes.
because nobody else showed them, this is why you're doing this. This is why
Yes.
you're behaving like this. This is why you have a hard time with this, right? This
That's
is why
right.
you're
Just
afraid, right?
a really quick example of that. We interviewed a therapist from California, and she's been out for a long time. And she was with her daughters, and they were going to the door. I don't know what they were doing. They had to go and do something, and they were ringing the bell or knocking. And the mom was knocking really lightly. And the daughter said, "Mom, why are you knocking so lightly?" And she didn't even realize that she was doing this, but it went back to her Jehovah Witness days when
Yeah.
I
she
don't
didn't
want
want you to
anybody
come
to
Hoping nobody
interfere.
will hear it.
and so this is a therapist,
Yeah,
she's a therapist and she didn't
Yeah.
realize she was doing this. So yeah, so when you mention that, they, so you said it's going to be the 17th, 18th, and 19th of November.
Yes. Yes.
And how do you register?
You go on that website, which is
Okay.
www.empoweredseminars.com.
Okay.
okay.
Empower. Yeah, I think I saw it. Okay.
Let me just double check to make sure that I'm not lying to you. I could misspell things. Yeah, empoweredseminars plural.com.
Empower
Seminars
some.
and
Yeah,
.com. Okay.
It is really worth the effort and the price tag to go, because you're investing in yourself, and the work that you do in those 2 days is extra. I even learn constantly. Some people point out to me things that I'm like, oh yeah, I do that, and I didn't even realize, right?
yeah,
Even
yeah,
recently, somebody pointed it out, because I was born in Poland, and there are certain phrases in
yeah,
Polish that
yeah.
I say that witnesses say, and they told me like, you're still saying that, and I'm like, yeah, is that not normal? Like, no, only witnesses are using that phrase.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah,
oh, I didn't know.
That's
Because I
funny.
grew up as a witness in Poland. So for me, that was
Yeah.
wow.
normal to say those things. And when I came
Right.
here,
So,
right, it was
yeah,
different.
so Jack, you were born in?
I was born in, well, my mother is a
His
witness. My
mother
father
Mo-
was.
was a Catholic,
Father was
right?
oh,
Catholic.
okay,
But we followed my mom, and my father put up a fight. So that
okay,
actually
okay.
made our faith even stronger. He put up a
Wow,
strong fight, to be honest,
wow,
because
wow.
my mom left. She came to Canada, right? And 4 kids, and my dad stayed in Poland.
Wow.
And my dad had a mission. I gotta save my kids from this cult, right? So I remember he even brought a Catholic priest that was trained in Vatican against Jehovah's Witnesses.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And I was just a little kid. So he came, and my sister was maybe 18 years old, 17, 18 years old at the time. Discussion was for 2 days straight, not 2 hours,
my
2 days,
Oh,
2 days talking.
Wow.
oh,
And she
dear.
managed. I couldn't even believe it. Like she like certain things that he mentioned, stuck in my head until now. I was like, oh yeah, this guy's smart. He knew the Bible from cover to cover. You quote a scripture, he will tell you the scriptures before, and he will tell you the scriptures after.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like he was really high up there. So I still remember the conversation until today, and
Yeah.
I was like 9 years old, right?
Yeah.
But majority of the topic was Trinity, immortality of the soul,
Mm-hmm.
10 Commandments, and are we
Yeah.
still under the
Yeah.
old law?
Yeah.
And to be honest, my sister answered very well,
Yeah.
and of course she didn't convert him, or he didn't convert her. But because I saw how even a young teenager was able to literally win arguments with the highest priest trained against what Jehovah's
Amazing.
Witnesses, that
Amazing.
strengthened my faith.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
this is the true religion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because in Poland, you pretty much you had those two choices. You rather
Yeah.
Catholic, which is
Yeah.
96% of the population.
Right.
Yeah.
There's, I think, like 2% Protestant, and then you could be something else, right? So
Wow.
I'm like, well,
Wow.
I was born in that
Wow.
kind of a family.
Wow.
To be honest, I don't regret, because he exposed me to both worlds.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's valuable.
Yes.
Oh,
And
tremendous.
when I came to Canada, I saw how many people even pull out their kids from school and they homeschool them. They
Yeah.
didn't allow them to go
Yeah.
to
I know.
school.
Yeah.
No.
No.
And
No.
majority didn't allow them to play after school, play with other kids, no extracurricular activities, and anything like this. I was not raised like that. I constantly sign up for all the soccer team and swim team, and play with all my neighbors and cousins, because they were all witnesses.
Yeah.
I grew up in a small village, so there was like 15 people in my congregation, and the average age was 65, right? So
Oh,
of course all my friends were non-witnesses. I never saw anything wrong with being
yeah.
friends with people who are not
Right.
witnesses,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So even when I came to Canada and I was in the congregation, I still, went to my high school friends. I invited them over. I would travel with them. I went skiing with them, and people are like, "What? You went with who? With worldly people?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." And what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even see anything wrong with it. But for majority who were like both parents, witnesses, and like they were
No, and
holding
that,
everybody underneath the bubble, they actually grew. They're really hard. They have a really hard time finding themselves in this world, because it was always programmed into their mind that you cannot trust anybody, that
right.
everything is evil, that everything's under
Yes.
Satan influence. So
Yeah.
when they leave, they can't even trust themselves, because they were told, don't trust your own mind, don't trust your own heart, don't trust anybody in the world. Like, who are you going to trust, right? And they have a really hard time, right? So this is the stuff that we do at the seminar. We're like, we're going to change this all around, right?
Yeah, that's what makes you so valuable, because you have both those worlds to be able to
Mm-hmm.
to help translate for them. There really is.
So will you be at the seminar?
Oh yeah, I'm one of the speakers.
Oh,
Right?
good.
So
Okay.
if you come, I would love to see you guys there, and we'll have a great time. Because the biggest difference between being on the seminar, let's say on a Zoom call, right, when we do some of those too, it's the presence of people, right? And we do exercises, right, when we physically interact one with another, and there are certain things that you do, and like question and answer, stuff like this. And there's certain exercises that when you do them, they literally they impact you profoundly, because it's like, it's not just, oh, you heard from other guy who you agree with. It's like it's stuff comes from within. It's like, oh yeah, I've done this, right? And then a shift happens, right? It's extraordinary. Like I would recommend it to anyone to come. I have not seen anybody who regret it. The only comments that I hear always after the seminars is, "Oh, I can't believe I missed it. I wish I were there." And blah, blah, blah. Well,
No,
that's why we're telling people, come.
That's so good. That's so
So how
good.
many do you normally have at the seminar?
We don't have huge groups. We have about 30 people.
Okay.
I would say on an average, right? 25 to 30 people.
Yeah, that's good.
But it's a
You don't-
really good group because
Yeah.
if you have like 100, right,
Right.
or more,
it's
Yeah,
too
it's
many.
too many.
very difficult to get to know the people
Yeah.
within 2-3 days. If you have up to 30, then there is enough time within one weekend to really get to know one another, right? Their stories, we hear each other's stories, they share their stories,
Yeah.
and I really like that. I don't. I used to believe, oh, big groups are better. The bigger, the better. But I realized that the really big groups, you lose that intimacy of
Yeah.
getting to know your problem personally and intimately. You know what I mean? You're just one number in many. But if it's a small group, it actually, I think we're making a bigger impact on people individually if the group is smaller, right? But everybody obviously is welcome, right? So. Okay, you guys want to finish with something? Because I promised my wife is going to be 1 hour, 2.5 hours later. I'm still
boy.
not talking. It's almost midnight.
I know. Just one thing I was thinking of, back to the fear, your topic. We were
Yes.
interviewed by a local radio station, and
Oh,
this was in March. And he asked us. He said at the end of our interview, because we told him all about the shunning, about our children, about everything that's going on, and he asked us. He said, "Do you fear? Now that you've exposed yourself, do you fear for what could happen?" And I said, "I fear that not having a voice and not speaking out, especially in these cases where there's CSA and the children are involved, they do not have a voice.
Right.
They're too little. And so I would fear not speaking out
Yeah.
against it."
I mean, once you realize that when you realize that your voice was canceled and suppressed, you realize I don't want to. I don't want to be responsible for doing that to myself. So whenever we find ourselves in a situation, well, should we do that or not? Because it's going to put us out a little further. I say we put ourselves out a little further,
Yeah.
like putting our phone numbers out,
Yes, we put
or
our
the
phone
sign,
number.
or whatever.
And
No,
going to Washington, D.C., our family says, "Be careful, be careful." They're really worried about us going. I mean, not our children, of course, but cousins and brothers and sisters. They're really concerned about us going. But we said, "We'll be okay."
why are they concerned? What do they think is going to happen?
Well, I mean, there
Protest.
have been things that got out of hand in Washington once or twice.
Really? I didn't see anything on the news. What are you talking about?
Well, we promised.
No, I don't think it's going to be that bad this time.
We promised to behave.
It's unfortunate that so many things are happening in the world right now because this protest is not going to hit media. It's not going to be as powerful as it could be if all the mess was not happening in the Middle East, right?
I know.
But I'm glad it's happening. I spoke with a person who's organizing it. I forgot her name. Killed me right now. I forgot her name. But I really hope that it will have a positive impact, bring the awareness for people, because that's the key, right? You can't change people's mind, but bring the awareness.
Well,
people are joining, just like you guys join. You join because of the law of bombing, right? And people have a really hard time grasping the concept that this religion could be damaging because, like, I know Jehovah's Witnesses, they're the nicest people on the planet.
Right.
What do you guys want from them, right?
Yep.
And they don't understand the harm that this organization, that their policies are causing. So spreading the awareness is extremely important, right? And some people don't don't get it right away. They're like, oh yeah, I heard about it. I thought those guys who protest, they're crazy. But then later on, when they experience it themselves, then
Yeah.
the dots are being connected, right? Like, oh yeah, that's why
Well,
they were here.
I just want to reinforce that just the times that we've spoken to people on the streets and told them about Jehovah's Witnesses, they're glad. In other words, they receive it well. They wish they would have known sooner. We never regretted ever approaching people and telling them about it. And so we encourage every individual to speak out in their own neighborhood. Think about it. I don't know what our numbers are, but it must be hundreds of thousands. I don't know about millions. Maybe it is millions.
Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, there are millions. I believe there's more ex-JWs there are GWs.
Okay. Well, think about if each person gave voice, how powerful that would be.
Yeah. The reason why I'm saying this is because looking at the statistic, when you have, let's say, on one of the years, not right now, but previous years, 300,000 would join. Sorry, 300,000 were baptized, but the growth was only 100,000. That means 200,000 left or died. Looking at the average amount of people that died, which is usually about 1%, you're looking at over 100,000 that left year after year.
Year after
right?
year.
So if for every JW that joins, there is another JW that leaves. Just on an average number. So if there's 8 million of them currently, there's probably just as many of them out. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Just a number. You just got to know how to read them.
We have to use our voice.
Okay, guys, I'll let you go. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And I hope I'll see you soon. And all the best to you guys on your protest over there. Don't strangle anybody.
No, we'll behave ourselves.
Don't shoot anybody. Shoot some pictures and kill some time. That's about it. You know.
That's it. Make love.
All right.
Good night.
Have a good night.
You, Jay.